Victory. The word flashed across my phone screen as the announcer's voice echoed in my ears. I let out a long, heavy sigh. 1,000 games. It took 1,000 matches in the king's rank, but I finally understood the path. As the words left my lips, a crisp notification rang out deep inside my mind. The system was finally here. It congratulated me on completing the 1,000-game requirement and announced the binding of the Hexagon Warrior system. Instantly, I felt a change. All my basic stats were bumped up to a passing grade. Then, the big one came, a newbie gift pack. It had been a month and a half since I arrived in this world. I was a traveler from 2022, thrust into this parallel version of 2020. Everything here was the same, except for one thing. Honor of Kings was a national obsession. Esports was the biggest industry in the country. In this life, I was Suyi, a small-time variety streamer. I usually played in low-rank lobbies because my skills were mediocre at best. My stream was stagnant, with only a few dozen people watching and barely enough income to cover my rent. I had a golden finger, sure, but it demanded that 1,000-game grind before it would activate. I hadn't slept much in 6 weeks, but I had finally finished the task. I didn't hesitate. I opened the gift pack. The system offered me one max-level ability. I pulled up my status panel. Everything, operations, reaction time, hand speed, awareness, game logic, and macro strategy, was sitting at a flat 60. The system explained the scale. A normal person usually scores between 20 and 60. At 20, you're a handicapped player stuck in gold or platinum. 60 is the dividing line between a casual and a pro, the bare minimum for the big leagues. 70 is good. 80 is elite. A top-tier pro like Fly in his prime would average around an 85. The higher the number, the harder it is to climb. But this reward would jump one stat straight to 100. Human peak. I stared at the screen, thinking hard. What did I need most? I bit my tongue and made the call. Operations. Without the mechanical skill to back it up, awareness and strategy are just wasted thoughts. A chime sounded. My operations stat hit 100. Because hand speed and reaction time are tied to mechanics, those jumped to an impressive 80. The change was instant. My head felt clearer. Every combo and every high-level play for every hero in the game flooded my brain like it had always been there. I was itching to try it out. I tapped past the post-game screen and queued up for another match. My chat was a mess. My 10 or so regular fans were laughing at me for spacing out. One joked that they only watched me for my trash-tier plays. Another said they were only there because I looked like a movie star. At 6'1" with sharp, sunny features, I could have been an idol, but I chose to be a struggling gamer. I looked at the camera and grinned. Brothers, I'm done pretending. I'm coming clean. I'm actually a god at this game. Watch and learn. The chat erupted in 666, and haha. Nobody believed me. They had seen me stuck in low-star king rank for a month. I didn't argue. I just entered the lobby. I picked my usual role, the solo lane. Then, I locked in Ma Chao. He was the hardest hero to pilot, a high-skill ceiling warrior I loved, but could never actually play well. The moment the match started, I knew I was a different person. Managing Ma Chao's spears, the timing of the thrusts, the complex triangle kill combos, it all felt like breathing. It was pure muscle memory. I didn't have to think. Playing in this rank felt like playing against bots. Level 2? Solo kill. Level 3? Solo kill. Level 4? I dove the tower and walked away with the kill. The enemy realized I was a threat. Their mid laner, jungler, and support all rotated to collapse on me. It was a 4-man trap. My jungler was still miles away. I didn't run. I saw the lines. I saw the openings. I danced between them. At level 5, in a 1 versus 4, I kited them into oblivion. I killed 3 and nearly got the 4th before they retreated in terror. My chat went dead silent. Was this the same trash streamer they knew? I didn't stop. I broke the solo lane in 5 minutes and started roaming. At 8 minutes, a team fight broke out in the river. I got a pentakill. At 14 minutes, during the dragon fight, I got another one. Double pentakills in one game. The enemy crystal exploded at the 14-minute mark. My final score was 28 kills, 1 death, and 3 assists. I had dealt 70% of my team's total damage. It was a slaughter. If I hadn't been testing my limits, I could have ended it 6 minutes earlier. I leaned back and looked at the chat. So, how was my ma chow? The screen exploded. Who are you? Brothers, call the police. Someone stole Su Ye's account. That was actually insane. I had just dropped nearly 30 kills in 10 minutes. Some people in the chat were cheering, but others were skeptical. They called it a low-rank fluke. They told me to try that in a higher tier and see what happened. I just shook my head and smiled. I didn't need to argue. In the world of competitive gaming, you don't talk your way to the top, you play your way there. That first match proved how terrifying the max-level mechanics ability really was. It wasn't just about fast fingers. It gave me an instinctive map of the game. I knew every hero's cooldowns, every optimal window for an ability, and exactly when to strike. Whether it was a one-on-one duel or a 1 versus 5 ambush, I felt untouchable. I didn't stop. I kept queuing. For the next 7 hours, it was a total massacre. It didn't matter which hero I picked for the side lane. I was crushing my opponents within 5 minutes and ending games by the 7-minute mark. The chat went from disbelief to pure shock. Over those 7 hours, I maintained a 35-game winning streak. 35 games, 35 MVPs. I hadn't lost a single match. I rocketed from 5-star king rank all the way to 40-star king. The comments were flying so fast I could barely read them. People were accusing me of hiring a pro booster to play for me. They said it was unscientific. My viewership numbers started climbing, hitting over 10,000 people in no time. Even after 7 hours of high-intensity play, I wasn't tired. I felt wired. I wanted to go for a 100-game streak. Before I could hit the start button again, a soft knock came from my door. "Brother, dinner is ready," a clear voice called out. "Are you still streaming?" I blinked, finally looking at the clock. It was already 8 p.m. I had been so locked in that I'd completely lost track of time. "I heard you. Coming now," I shouted back. I turned to my camera. "All right, brothers, time for a food break. I'll be back soon to keep the climb going." I stepped out into our small, cramped living room. A tiny wooden table sat in the center with 2 simple dishes and a bowl of soup, stir-fried eggs with tomatoes, some pickled vegetables, and plain porridge. It wasn't fancy. The whole meal probably cost less than 2 yuan, but it was home. My younger sister, Suhee, was sitting on a small stool waiting for me. I walked over and rubbed her hair. "Thanks, little sis," I said. "It's your weekend off, and you're still the one cooking for me." She gave me a sweet smile. "It's nothing. You're the one working hard, staying up late to stream and earn money for us." Looking at her, I felt a pang of guilt. Our parents passed away years ago, leaving us with nothing but each other. Since we couldn't afford for both of us to go to school, I dropped out early so she could have a future. She was brilliant, keeping her grades at the top of her high school class for 2 years. I had spent the last 6 months trying to make it as a streamer, but I hadn't made a dime. Until today. With these god-tier mechanics, I knew I could finally change our lives. As I ate, I looked at the system panel in my mind. 1 max-level ability had already made me better than most professional players. If I unlocked all 6, I'd be unstoppable. The system wanted me to join a professional team, and I knew the fastest way to get scouted was the peak tournament rankings. "I'm full," I said, putting my bowl down. "I'll wash the dishes later. I need to get back to it." I hurried back to my room, leaving Suhee looking confused. She wasn't used to seeing me this energetic. I immediately changed my stream title, starting from 1200, climbing to rank 1 peak. The chat exploded again. They told me I was getting arrogant. They said the pros and the national rank players in the peak tournament would humble me real quick. I ignored them and hit start. The slaughter continued. From 8 p.m. toward midnight, I tore through the 1,200-point bracket. I was winning 6 games an hour. By the time the tournament window was closing, I had won 24 games in a row. My score jumped from 1,200 to over 1,580. My viewership hit 3,000 concurrent watchers. Some had been there for 10 hours straight, watching me cycle through every hero in the side lane just to show off. "Stay humble, everyone," I joked, leaning into the mic. "It's just the low-point games. Anyone could do this." Just as the words left my mouth, my viewer count doubled, then tripled, skyrocketing to 30,000 people. The chat turned into a blur of red and gold. Is that a platform promotion? I muttered, confused. Then I saw the messages. Collision. It's a collision. Host, go for it. Carry the fat man. Zhang Daxian is on your team. This streamer is actually kind of handsome. He looks almost as good as me. Get real, the guy above me is dreaming. I caught the comments flashing across the screen and realized what was happening. I hadn't just bumped into any random player. I had collided with a titan. Zhang Daxian, one of the top streamers on the entire platform, was on my team. I knew Daxian well. In fact, he was the reason I got into streaming in the first place. Back in his prime, his mechanics were legendary and his looks were top tier. Even though he'd put on some weight recently and his skills had slipped into what we called chef territory, meaning he served up a lot of mistakes, his humor and clean reputation kept him at the top. I was a fan, honestly. He usually played for fun around the 1,500 point mark in the peak tournament, so meeting him here wasn't impossible. Don't worry, brothers, I said to my viewers, grinning. He's one of our own. I'm going to carry him to a win. The chat filled with 666 as the picks and bans finished. My team was the blue side. I had Charlotte in the side lane, Sikong Jun in the jungle, Wang Xiaojun mid, Sun Shangxiang as the marksman, and Daxian playing Su Lai as support. The red side had Mulan, Li Bai, My Shiranui, Marco Polo, and Zhang Fei. In a 1,500 point game, team compositions didn't matter as much as raw skill. It was all about who could outplay who. I noticed Daxian didn't turn on his voice chat. He probably didn't want to be recognized by randoms. I didn't turn mine on either. I just headed straight to the top lane to face Mulan. At this level, I could play with my eyes half closed. I focused on interacting with my fans while I worked the wave. Across the map, Daxian was doing the same for his massive audience. Brothers, watch the map, he told his viewers while helping our mid laner clear. Our Charlotte is playing aggressive. Mulan is going to have a hard time. I didn't wait. I bought a long sword right out of the gate, aiming for a level 2 kill. I didn't rush my skills. I used the minions to stack my passive, waiting for the right moment. If he doesn't leave, he's dead, I muttered. The Mulan hit level 2 first and lunged at me, throwing her light sword to slow me down. I hit level 2 a second later, immediately leveled my first skill, and sidestepped the projectile. I countered with my tri-point slash. The green blade light sliced through Mulan. She didn't back down, trying to trigger her silence on me. I didn't retreat. I dashed forward with my second skill, Splash Fountain. Because I had pre-stacked my passive on the minions, I hit 3 stacks instantly. I unleashed the 7-star Glow Slash. Mulan managed to trigger her silence, dealing heavy damage, but I was faster. My ultimate gave me a 35% damage reduction, and my passive slowed her attack speed to a crawl. The trade wasn't even close. Mulan is already dead, I said. She didn't seem to realize she'd lost the trade. She stayed to trade basic attacks, thinking she could win a brawl. Suddenly, her health bar vanished. By the time she realized she was in trouble and tried to retreat, it was too late. My second skill was back off cooldown. I dashed. She panicked and flashed back under her tower. I didn't hesitate. I followed her with my own flash and landed one final basic attack. First blood. The chat went wild. A clean, tower diving solo kill. It looked effortless, but it was pure mechanical precision. In Dashian's stream, he pulled his camera view to the top lane just in time to see the kill. Oh, this Charlotte is fierce, he said, surprised. He actually outplayed the Mulan. Not bad, this guy is a pro. Daxian had a sharp eye for talent. He started checking the top lane more often, curious to see if I was a one-hit wonder. Meanwhile, on the enemy team, the chat was toxic. Li Bai, what are you doing? Mulan got soloed at level 2. Bro, you're trash. The Mulan player typed back defensively. I was careless. I didn't have my flash ready. Wait, actually I did. But this Charlotte is a smurf. Jungle, come help me. The game continued. After being killed, the Mulan played incredibly safe, hugging her tower until she hit level 4. I couldn't find another opening, so the lane stayed in a stalemate until the 140 mark. That's when both junglers hit level 4 and rotated toward the top. Daxian was busy helping our marksman in the bottom lane. They almost got a kill on Marco Polo, but our Sun Shangxiang missed her skill. So close. Daxian sighed, starting his recall in a bush. He panned his camera back to me. Wait, it's going down up top. The enemy Li Bai struck first, lunging at me. Mulan followed up immediately. But my jungler, Sikong Jun, was waiting in the shadows. He leaped out, shouting his line about crushing the darkness with lightning. I turned back and used my ultimate, knocking Li Bai into the air. Sikong Jun hammered him with 3 lightning-infused punches, leaving him hovering at death's door. I finished him off with a quick tri-point slash. But the enemy Mulan was good. She executed her full heavy sword combo, catching our half-health jungler and deleting him instantly. Now it was just me and Mulan. We were both at critical health. Oh no, Daxian shouted to his stream. Charlotte is in trouble. He doesn't have flash. If he stays, he's dead. And look, the enemy mid laner is almost there. As Daxian finished speaking, the enemy Mulan started to retreat toward the teleportation circle. She was clearly waiting for her cooldowns. But she wasn't alone. Her teammates, Shiranui Mai and Zhang Fei, were already creeping up to support her. When Mulan saw her backup arrive, her confidence returned. She spun around, ready to fight back. I didn't hesitate. I lunged forward with my second skill, preceding Fountain. My passive, the tri-point slash, flashed across the screen. Mulan collapsed instantly. Double kill. Zhang Fei and Shiranui Mai charged at me. Daxian shook his head on stream. He's gone, he muttered. There's no way. Charlotte doesn't have flash. He stared at the screen, his eyes widening in disbelief as I stayed to fight. It was 3 against 1. Usually, that's a death sentence. Shiranui Mai was at half health, so she stayed back while Zhang Fei, their full health tank, rushed me. I didn't panic. I used Zhang Fei as a punching bag, dancing around him to stack my passive. Seeing a low-health Charlotte acting so arrogant was too much for Shiranui Mai. She threw a fan and kicked toward me. I pivoted. Her fan whistled past my ear, and her kick hit nothing but air. Instead of running, I chased her down. Oh, the Mai missed, Daxian shouted. She's in trouble. As I pursued her, I sidestepped again. Another fan flew wide. I was 1v2, but I was the one doing the hunting. A third fan came flying out of the top brush, a blind shot. I swayed to the left, and it missed by an inch. Wow, Daxian screamed. This Charlotte is insane. Look at those reflexes. I think I'm falling in love. I caught up to the retreating Zhang Fei first. With a final strike, the giant fell. Triple kill. Seeing her support die right in front of her, Shiranui Mai lost it. She went all in, throwing a 4th fan and launching her full combo. I pulled off a sharp 90-degree turn, dodging the fan yet again. Then, I triggered my ultimate. The super armor from the skill blocked her crowd control perfectly. I followed up with a 7-star glow, cutting her down where she stood. Quadra kill. The announcement echoed through the map. Daxian was stunned. No way. Brother, how are you not dead? 1 versus 3 and he gets a quadra? This guy is a monster. My chat exploded. 666. That was legendary. He dodged 4 fans in a row. Some people realized what was happening. Wait, I saw the notification. This is a streamer clash. Go check out his channel. Daxian realized it too. This had to be a top-tier specialist. Even so, those dodges were something else. On the enemy team, their Marco Polo was fuming. He was already on an 8-game losing streak. Are you kidding me? He roared in team chat. 3 of you couldn't kill 1 guy? Do you even know how to play? His teammates stayed silent. There was no excuse for getting dismantled like that. Back in my room, I just leaned back and smiled. Taken down, I said softly. I remained calm, as if wiping out 4 people while at death's door was just another Tuesday. My viewership was skyrocketing. Thousands of people were flooding in from Daxian's stream. Within minutes, my popularity broke 100,000 and kept climbing. I wasn't surprised. That's the power of a top-tier influencer. Make sure to hit that follow button, brothers, I told the new viewers. I'm a fan of Daxian too. We're all on the same team. I'm hitting rank 1 on the ladder in the next 2 days. Follow now so you can say you were here from the start. The game wasn't over. At the 3-minute mark, a fight broke out in the mid-lane brush. Our jungler, Sikong Jun, got caught by Mulan and Li Bai. I rushed toward the center of the map. Daxian followed on his Su Lai. By the time we arrived, Sikong Jun was dead. Daxian saw 4 enemies and prepared to retreat, but I pinged the attack signal. I dove headfirst into the crowd, my blade flashing. I deleted the wounded Mulan in a heartbeat. So aggressive, Daxian shouted. He didn't leave me hanging. He used flash and his second skill to follow up. The enemy team focused everything on me, dropping my health to critical levels. With Daxian Su Lai soaking up the damage, I backed off for a split second. The enemy thought they had him trapped. Just as Daxian thought I was abandoning him, I whirled back into the fray. Just go? Save yourself, Daxian urged. He didn't think 2 low-health players could win against 3. Then I started dancing again. I dodged Shiranui Mai's fan and used my ultimate to knock Li Bai into the air. I predicted his retreat perfectly with my second skill and cut him down. Double kill. Daxian Su Lai had been knocked into his resurrection state. He was a statue on the ground, waiting for teammates to step on his lanterns to heal him. Instead of chasing the retreating Mai, I stayed behind. I stepped on all 3 lanterns, bringing Daxian back to life instantly. He's so fast, Daxian cheered. And he stayed to save me. This Charlotte is the real deal. His chat was a blur of praise. We found a pro. This guy is carrying the whole game. Daxian, you need to recruit this man. Daxian just laughed, his eyes fixed on the screen. Let's see what else he can do. Daxian headed back to the bottom lane to protect our marksman. While he was busy babysitting, the kill feed at the top of my screen wouldn't stop flashing. Legendary. Unstoppable. By the 4-minute mark, I was already godlike. Daxian kept shouting in disbelief. He wanted to know who this Charlotte player was. He wondered if I was some famous high-rank player hiding on a Smurf account. Even though this was a lower-tier match around 1,500 points, the way I was dismantling the enemy team showed real skill. By the 5-minute mark, our team score was 12-4. Daxian's health was low, so he had to head back to base. He shook his head at the screen, laughing about how he was being carried so hard. He panned his camera over to the top lane to watch me. I was crouching in a bush. I saw Mulan and Li Bai approaching the minion wave together. I didn't hesitate. I lunged out. I moved like a phantom between the 2 of them, weaving my skills with perfect precision. I used my second skill to dash through their damage and my ultimate super armor to ignore their crowd control. I executed the Mulan with ease and then dove the tower to finish off Li Bai. Double kill. Daxian watched the whole thing. He called it pleasing to the eye, like watching a graceful waltz. He compared my mechanics to Cuxi, the pro player from his own championship team, XYG. That was high praise, considering Cuxi had nearly a dozen national server titles. But after the next team fight, Daxian realized his evaluation was still too low. Our Sun Xiangxiang got caught and killed in the bottom lane. Then, our mid laner, Wang Zhaojun, got ambushed by Shiranui Mai in the blue buff jungle. Daxian rushed over to help, and I rotated down from mid to join him. By the time we arrived, Zhaojun was dead. Daxian charged in with his second skill, trying to knock up the enemy Mai, but she flashed away. I intercepted her. I landed my first skill on a jungle monster to gain a movement speed buff, closed the gap instantly, and thrust my blade forward. Legendary. Mai was gone. Immediately, Li Bai, Mulan, and Zhang Fei arrived to back her up. It was a 3-on-2. Seeing the numbers, Daxian turned to run. I wasn't finished. I pinged Daxian's flash and signaled attack. He understood me instantly. He faked a retreat into the brush near the blue buff and began charging his ultimate. I stayed out in the open, acting as bait. Seeing me alone, the 3 enemies grew greedy. They wanted revenge. They burned their gap closers to dogpile me. They were standing right on top of each other. They shredded half my health in a second. I only used my basic skills, holding my ultimate back. They thought I had given up. Then, a gold light flashed. Daxian burst out of the bush with a flash ultimate combo. He slammed all 3 of them into the air. Because he hit so many targets, the damage was massive. Before they could even touch the ground, I followed up with my own ultimate. The glowing blades knocked them up a second time. I unleashed my passive, the 7-star glow slash, twice in a row. With my massive gold lead, the damage was explosive. Li Bai evaporated instantly. Double kill. Mulan flashed away, and Zhang Fei turned to bolt. Daxian wasn't letting them go. He used his second skill and flashed to chase them down. We hunted them from the jungle all the way to their second tower. Triple kill. As the announcement echoed, Daxian spotted the enemy Marco Polo coming out of the high ground with full health. "I smell a penta," he yelled. He sneaked around the back of the enemy base while I finished off the stragglers under the second tower. Quadra kill. I was ready to back off, but Daxian opened his mic and screamed, "Come here, my treasure. Take the penta." He had intercepted Marco Polo at the high ground gate. He used his second skill to shove the marksman right toward me. Marco wasn't fully built yet. Daxian knocked him up, and I hit him with a fresh rotation of skills. My passive triggered, and Marco's health bar vanished. Pentakill. The screen filled with the golden announcement. All 10 players in the game lost their minds. The well-played, quick chat messages flooded the screen from both teams. Daxian leaned back, satisfied. He joked that he wished every teammate was like this Charlotte. 6 minutes in, and I already had a quadra and a penta. Daxian's chat was going crazy. They teased him for being carried, but they were mostly in awe of the battle god in the top lane. In my own stream, the 666 and GOAT comments were scrolling too fast to read. I stayed calm, though. After playing all afternoon, I had gotten so many pentas in these lower ranks that I was almost numb to it. "Just basic mechanics, brothers," I said casually. "Don't forget to follow the channel. We're hitting rank 1 in 2 days. Absolute beast," the enemy Sikong Jun typed in the chat. "That Charlotte is insane." I saw the message and just smiled. I didn't need to say a word. My gameplay had done the talking for me. Daxian opened his mic again, his voice full of genuine excitement. "My brother is definitely taking off. It's not just about the pentakill. This guy is too fierce. With skills like this, he's going to dominate every rank." Hearing a top-tier streamer like Daxian hype me up felt good. I gave a small, knowing smile. My other teammates finally realized who they were playing with. The voices coming through their headsets were unmistakable. "Wait, player 2, is that really you, Daxian?" one teammate shouted. "Holy crap, it is him," another added. "Daxian, I'm a huge fan." Since we were winning so hard, Daxian was in a great mood. He didn't mute his mic. Instead, he started chatting with the team like they were old friends. It's me. We're cruising this game." I decided to jump in. I opened my mic and joked, "Brothers, since I'm carrying this hard, how about some follows for my channel?" The team chat exploded. "You got it, man. Where do you stream? What's your name?" They were desperate to find out who this battle god was. I didn't answer immediately. I wanted to see how Daxian would react first. Daxian nodded to his viewers. "You guys definitely need to follow him. This brother's Charlotte is terrifying. He's easily at a national server level." I kept it humble. It was alright. I don't actually play Charlotte that much. She's not really my style. I was being honest, but to everyone else, it sounded like the ultimate flex. If, alright, meant getting a pentakill in 6 minutes, what did I consider good? On the enemy side, the vibes were miserable. They were completely broken. "Damn it, Milan. Why are you feeding so hard?" their Marco Polo raged. 14 kills in 6 minutes? Are you serious? I can't help it. Milan shot back. "This Charlotte is a pro. We sent 4 people to gank him, and he still wouldn't die." Next game, Levi typed, "This one is over. No point playing." I'm literally crying, their Shiranui added. "I'm uninstalling after this." Even their Zhang Fei chimed in. "This Charlotte just cured my gaming addiction. I'm done." The Marco Polo didn't wait any longer. He triggered the surrender vote. For green lights flashed instantly. They didn't even want to try. I was already at their high ground at the 7-minute mark, planning to end it by minute 8, but the screen froze. Victory. I shook my head, feeling a bit disappointed. I wanted to interact with Daxian a bit more, but the enemy had no fighting spirit left. "No sportsmanship," I muttered. Just to be petty, I went to the post-game screen and reported 4 of them for giving up. To my surprise, the system actually worked. Milan, Shiranui and Levi all got point deductions and temporary bans from peak matches. My chat was losing it. LMAO, no sportsmanship. If I were them, I would have quit at 5 minutes. Others joked, "The streamer is such a dog. He destroys them on the field, then bans them from the game." I love it. As my popularity surged, I thanked the viewers for the gifts. Thanks for the support, everyone. But remember, if you're a minor, please don't spend your money here. I closed the match and prepared for the next one. Meanwhile, Daxian was still on his results screen. He was curious. He clicked on my profile to see the history of the person who just dropped 14 kills in 7 minutes. He saw my hero power for Charlotte was only around 7,000. That didn't make sense. He frowned and clicked into my match history. The next second, Daxian's eyes nearly popped out of his head. My God, is this even real? His shout echoed through his stream. The screen showed a solid wall of victory. Every single game was a win. Every single game was an MVP. He scrolled down. 20 wins in a row in peak rank. 20 wins in a row in ranked. He saw 10 kills, 20 kills, even a 30-kill game mixed in. Most impressively, I had played almost every single hero in the top lane. Even when I played low-damage tanks, I was still walking away with double-digit kills. This guy is a monster, Daxian whispered. He'd been playing this game for 6 years, and he'd never seen a record this clean. Most games ended in under 10 minutes. The longest one was only 14. Then he checked my overall stats. My rank stats were average, 70 points, typical casual player. But my peak rank stats? A 100% win rate and a rating of 120. Daxian had his answer. This wasn't a casual player. This was a god-tier booster or a pro-level talent playing on someone else's account. Excited, he addressed his audience. Brothers, I'm ending the stream early. See you tomorrow at 7:30. The moment he went offline, he grabbed his phone and messaged the manager of his professional team, XYG. Watch my last stream. Find this Charlotte player. Check his main account and his rank. If he's available, we need to recruit him. Daxian's team, XYG, had recently won a national tournament, but they were struggling against the established pro teams in the KPL. They had been getting crushed, especially by powerhouses like QG Happy. Daxian was desperate for new talent to save his team's morale. He didn't stop there. He called his social media manager. Take the highlights from that Charlotte game and post them on my main account immediately. On my end, after playing over 50 matches straight, the exhaustion was finally hitting me. I looked at the camera and waved to my growing fan base. We're hitting rank 1 tomorrow, brothers. Subscribe now, so you can say you were here from the start. The chat was flooded with people begging me not to go. They loved the way I played. It wasn't just gaming, it was art. But I needed rest. I shut down the stream, unaware that my life was about to change. My subscriber count was absolutely exploding. It went from 1 to 2, then jumped from 500 straight to over 8,000. Almost everyone watching the stream hit that follow button. Most of them were fans coming over from Daxian's room. My promise to treat them like old fans, once I made it big, was a huge draw. After a whole afternoon and night of god-tier plays, everyone knew I was about to skyrocket. They wanted to be there from the start. After I finally shut down the computer, I walked over to the tiny kitchenette in the corner of the living room. I wanted to wash the leftover dishes from dinner. Calling it a kitchen was a stretch. It was really just a single cupboard near the front door. When I got there, I realized the pots and bowls were already sparkling clean, stacked neatly on the shelf. My little sister, Suhi, must have done them already. I let out a long sigh and tightened my fists. Don't worry, little sister. I'm going to give you a better life. The next morning, I woke up early. Suhi had already finished breakfast and left for school. I sat down at the small dining table and found a bowl of poached eggs, still warm. There was a little note sitting next to it. I picked it up. Brother, I'm heading to school. I'll take care of myself, so make sure you take care of yourself too. Eat well, sleep early, and stop eating so much instant ramen. Stop eating ramen. Stop eating ramen. Important things must be said 3 times. She even drew a little funny face at the bottom. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. I wolfed down the breakfast and immediately jumped back onto the computer. I couldn't wait to start the grind. If I were still losing more than I won like before, I wouldn't be this excited. But feeling myself get stronger, seeing that win streak grow, it was addictive. As soon as I started the stream, a crowd was already waiting. I glanced at my stats. My subscribers had jumped from 8,000 to over 30,000 overnight. It was closing in on 40,000. The growth speed was terrifying. You're here early, streamer, the chat bubbled. Let's go? I can't wait to learn some more pro moves. Another fan wrote, I honestly can't believe you used to play like a total amateur. I actually believe you can hit rank 1 now. Someone else chimed in. I came from Dashian's TikTok. That Charlotte play was legendary. That explained it. I quickly opened TikTok and searched for Dashian's profile. Sure enough, his latest video was titled, "Who Wouldn't Love a Charlotte Teammate Like This?" I clicked it. It was a highlight reel of me absolutely dominating the enemy team. It had only been up for a few hours and already had over 100,000 likes. The comments were full of people pointing back to my channel. Daxian was helping me grow. I felt a surge of gratitude toward him. In the streaming world, big stars rarely went out of their way to help small creators like this. I greeted the new viewers with a smile and dove straight into ranked matches. With so many new eyes on me, I had to dominate. I wanted to turn these viewers into loyal followers who wouldn't dare leave. By the end of the morning, I had secured another 30-win streak. I pushed my rank to 70 stars. At this point, the doubts in the chat had vanished. It was nothing but praise and 666 spam. I was sitting on a nearly 90-game win streak. Even pro players struggled to do that in solo queue. I'd seen famous streamers like Bei Mu and Sang Jie try for a 100-win streak only to fail in low-tier matches. This was a team game, after all. Unless you were like me, possessing max-level human mechanics, you couldn't always carry a bad team. By the time I finished the morning session, my subscribers broke 50,000. I'd been streaming for over 2 years and only had 500 fans. Now, in less than 48 hours, I was a rising star. Having a mentor like Daxian mattered, but I knew I had to stay sharp to keep them. I didn't even want to stop for lunch. I just boiled a pot of water and made a cup of instant ramen, slurping the noodles while I picked my hero for the next match. Seeing me eat nothing but cheap noodles, the fans lost it. "Bro, a pro like you shouldn't be eating just ramen," one viewer yelled. A notification popped up. He had sent a magic book gift. Go buy a real meal. More gifts started flooding the screen. Eat well so you have the energy to carry. I thanked them with my mouth full of noodles, reminding the miners not to spend their money. By the time the hero selection ended, the ramen was gone. I played from noon until 2 p.m., finally hitting the massive milestone, 100 consecutive wins. I stopped there. I needed to rest before the peak rank ladder opened at 6 p.m. If I played too much now, I'd be too tired to focus when the real competition started. Taking a nap, brothers, I told the chat. See you at 6 for the climb to rank 1. I crashed on my small bed and slept until the ladder opened. From 6 p.m. to midnight, I went on a tear. I played 27 matches and won 26 of them. My streak finally snapped at 121 wins. In that final game, my jungler went AFK. Even then, I almost pulled off the 4 versus 5 win. We only lost because the enemy jungler stole the Storm Dragon at the last second. It was a valiant effort loss. I didn't flame the guy who left. I just felt a pang of regret. If I were even better, could I have carried that too? The hunger to improve grew even stronger. By midnight, my peak score hit 2,100. I was ranked in the top 100 nationally. The number 1 spot was sitting at 2280. Only 180 points to go. My fans loved the grind. They saw the talent, but more importantly, they saw the effort. The gifts didn't stop until the screen went black. My stream was blowing up. The viewer count smashed through 40,000, and as I kept tearing through matches, my peak score climbed higher and higher. People were starting to remember my god-tier human mechanics. Whether they were the ones I carried or the ones I crushed, everyone was recording my plays. Clips of my insane outplays were flooding TikTok, racking up massive traffic and heat. I was the mysterious king of strangers who had suddenly appeared from nowhere to dominate the peak ladder. I was systematically destroying famous streamers and national rank pros. In the King of Glory community, my name was becoming a legend. My in-game ID was Pashao, Breaking Dawn. It meant the end of the dark night and the arrival of the light. After being hidden for so long, it was finally my time to shine. The next night arrived. The word victory flashed across my screen in giant gold letters. I let out a long, heavy breath. I was finally ranked 2 in the entire country. One last game, I muttered, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and nerves. Next one is for rank 1. The climb into the top 100 had been brutal. The lobbies were packed with national rank streamers, professional players, and elite pub stars. It wasn't a slaughterhouse anymore. Every inch of ground was hard fought. I had a 180-point gap to close, which should have been 18 straight wins. But I ran into actors who threw my games and lost 3 matches because of them. Plus, the guy in first place kept winning, pushing the goalpost further away. It took me 24 intense matches of pure, high-level mechanics to claw my way to second place. It was almost midnight. The peak ladder was about to close for the day. This final match would determine if I took the throne. I took a deep breath and clicked start. 10 seconds later, the match found. We entered the ban pick phase. I immediately typed into the chat, "I'm playing Clash Lane, brothers. Give me Clash." Before I could lock it in, the player in the 5th slot flashed a national rank badge for Clash Lane, level 106. He pre-selected Lao Fuzi. Bro, let me have Clash Lane," the 5th player said over voice chat. "Hard work for you to fill another role, okay?" I froze. That voice sounded incredibly familiar. A second later, my other teammates recognized it too. "Is that Fu Lai?" one asked. "That's definitely Fu Lai's voice." "Slot 2, just let him have it. Carry us, brother Lai." Fu Lai laughed, clearly enjoying the recognition. It's me. Good brothers, let me have this one." I hesitated. Even though my mechanics were maxed out and I could play any hero in any position, I had spent the last 3 days almost exclusively in the Clash Lane. It was my comfort zone. In this do-or-die match for rank 1, I didn't want to leave the outcome in someone else's hands. I turned to my stream chat for advice. My viewers were rowdy. "Don't give it up. Who cares who he is? Snatch it," they spammed. "You're a national rank beast too. Why be scared? This match is too important." Seeing the unanimous support from my fans, I nodded. I typed my score into the team chat. "Brother, I'm at 2,293 points. Rank 2 in the country. If I win this, I'm rank 1. Let me have it." There was a pause. Then Fu Lai's voice came back, sounding surprised. "Wait, that voice. Are you Pashao?" I wasn't surprised he recognized me. Since hitting the high yellow brackets, I had run into him twice. In one of those games, my Ma Chao had solo killed his Lao Fuzi 3 times in a row. It was a total eclipse. He probably wouldn't forget that nightmare anytime soon. When I didn't answer immediately, Fu Lai proposed a compromise. "How about this? We'll go with the dragon and tiger dual whip strategy. I'll take the lane. You take the jungle with Pei Chinhu." I looked at our team composition and thought for a moment. Fine. Dual whips it is. Let's do this, brothers. I need this win for rank 1. Fu Lai sounded relieved. "Don't worry, brother. With the 2 of us here, we're going to stomp them." I smiled. Ma Chao was usually banned because of how hard I'd been carrying with him lately, and this game was no exception. I settled on Charlotte. The teams were set. Our blue side had Lao Fuzi, Pei Chinhu, Ying Zheng, Charlotte, and Sun Bin. The red side had Lu Bu, Luna, and Di Renjia. As the game loaded, Fu Lai's voice crackled with excitement as he talked to his own stream. "What? Is that Bei Mu on Luna?" We crashed into a pro stack. The enemy team is full of monsters. My interest peaked. "What's the lineup?" "My chat says the Luna is Bei Mu," Fu Lai replied. "The marksman is Meng Lan. The support is Fan from QG Happy. Their mid laner is a national rank Yang Yuan." My eyebrows shot up. These weren't just high-level players. They were the elite of the elite. Bei Mu was the ceiling for Luna players, a man who had ended seasons at rank 1. Meng Lan was a genius who had dominated the ladders since he was 16 and was now a starting pro for Foshan GK. Fan was a veteran support from a legendary championship team. A few days ago, these were names I could only look up to. Now, I wasn't nervous. I was electrified. Meng Lan was the current rank 1. If I beat him here, the throne was mine. If I secured that top spot with my win rate, professional teams would be banging down my door. The match started. I controlled Charlotte and headed straight for the gold lane, the marksman's lane. Fu Lai took his Lao Fuzi to the Clash lane. I had suggested this swap myself. A short-ranged hero against a marksman is miserable before level 4, and I didn't want Fu Lai to feed Meng Lan and let him snowball. I would take the pressure myself. I didn't contest the first wave of minions. Meng Lan was a pro. If I stepped up, he'd poke me to half health instantly. I stayed patient, letting the minions hit my tower so I could reach level 2 safely. Then, I saw my chance. The river crab was low. Menglan fired his first skill to finish it off, but I timed it perfectly. I tossed my green blade, the Tri-Star sword, and snatched the kill right from under his nose. With the river crab secured, my confidence surged. I looked at the stream chat and made a bold claim. Unless something crazy happens, I'm going to solo kill this Dronzer. Let's see if he still dares to pressure me. The fans were split. Some believed in me after my recent win streak, but others were skeptical. This wasn't a low-rank match. I was facing the current rank 1 player, a genius marksman with peak mechanics. How was I supposed to solo kill him? The second wave of minions arrived, and I started my move. I tossed my first skill, hitting both the minions and Menglan. Just as my passive mark was about to expire, I dashed forward with my second skill to stab a minion. I backed off, then turned around to stab again. This time, I intentionally messed up my positioning. I walked right into Menglan's attack range. He didn't hesitate. He stopped hitting minions and started kiting me, his gold cards stinging as they drained my health. By the time I escaped, I was at half health. The chat went wild with confusion. Menglan sensed blood. He pushed the wave into my tower, looking to poke me down and force me back to base. As he stepped up, I threw my second Tri-Star sword. It hit. Hook, line, and sinker, I muttered. My voice was calm, but my eyes were sharp. I counterattacked instantly. I dashed in with my second skill, piercing through him and the minions to trigger my passive, 7-star void patch. The flurry of blades slashed him, slowing his movement and attack speed. His health bar dropped instantly. Menglan realized something was wrong. He probably thought my jungler was nearby. He quickly used his second skill to clear the crowd control and tried to retreat. But I wasn't done. With Charlotte, hitting a skill drastically reduces the cooldown of the next. My dash was ready again in just 3 seconds. I lunged forward, hitting him dead center. My passive stacks maxed out. I triggered a second 7-star void patch. Menglan's Dronzer was suddenly hanging by a thread. Bye-bye, I whispered. My first skill was off cooldown. I fired the green blade and immediately turned my back to him. A real pro doesn't look at the explosion. A gold flash flickered on the screen. Menglan had fast reflexes. He used flash to escape the projectile. But the audience gasped. My blade wasn't aimed at where he was. It was aimed exactly where he flashed to. I had predicted his escape perfectly. First blood. The chat exploded. Holy crap, he actually did it. That prediction was insane. So smooth, the double passive was calculated from the start. I smiled at the camera. Everything went according to plan. You thought I made a mistake? That was just the bait. Pro players are cautious. If I didn't act weak, he never would have stepped up that far. The high-rank players in the chat finally understood. I had used the minions to keep my passive stacks alive while letting him hit me, all to lure him into a kill zone. Fu Lai's voice came through the headset, sounding impressed. Not bad, brother. Solo killing Menglan. You just checked off a major achievement. I didn't say much. To me, this was just the appetizer. On the enemy side, Menglan was feeling the sting. That hurt. I got played. This Charlotte is a real master. Someone come help me out. He had thought I was a daigua, a dummy, when I missed my positioning. Now he knew better. The enemy team took note. Their young Yuhuan and support promised to rotate down. Menglan started playing extremely safe, hugging his tower and refusing to trade. But I had the lead now. I froze the lane, standing between him and the minions. Every time he tried to sneak a last hit, I punished him. By the 5-minute mark, the pressure was mounting. Fan's Luban Master arrived in my lane to babysit Menglan. The support is here, I called out to my team. The top lane is open. Fu Lai and the others were already diving the enemy top tower. Even if the enemy mid laner helped, it was a 4-on-3 advantage for my team. I focused on my own lane. Even with the support protecting him, Menglan was trying to clear the wave. I poked with my first skill and buffered my passive stacks. When the backline minions hit half health, I didn't hesitate. I used a flash dash combo, flying straight toward the half-health Dronzer under his tower. Suddenly, a third figure emerged from the shadows of the tower. It was Yang Yuhuan. She hadn't gone top. She had stayed to trap me. The viewers held their breath. A 1 versus 3 dive against pro players? It looked like suicide. But I didn't blink. My hands moved across the screen with cold, mechanical precision. I didn't panic. I unleashed my stored passive, the 7-star glow slash, instantly shredding Menglan's half-health Dronzer. The damage from the slash was so massive it cleared the nearby minions too, and a brilliant light swirled around me. I had hit level 4. I didn't wait. I triggered my ultimate, the Void Light Blade. The massive AoE burst out just as Fan's Luban Master tried to stun me, and Yang Yuhuan launched her crowd control. Because of the super armor from my ultimate, I ignored both of them. Their stuns bounced right off me. I had the kill, but I was bleeding out. My health bar was a tiny sliver of red. I used my second skill, the Piercing Fountain, to dash back toward the safety of my tower. In the enemy voice chat, Menglan gasped. "What is that damage? Yang Yuhuan, Fan, get him. Don't let him run." Seeing their teammate murdered right in front of them was an insult. They weren't about to let a dying Charlotte escape. They chased me down, desperate to finish me off and regain some dignity. I felt a cold smile touch my lips. Who said I was running? Just as I reached the shadow of my tower, I spun around. I threw out my first skill, the Tri-Light Blade, followed immediately by another dash. I triggered a second 7-star glow slash, hitting both of them at once. Their health bars plummeted. In the top lane, Fu Lai was watching the kill feed. "You're making me look like an idiot here," he shouted. I didn't answer. I dashed again and triggered a third 7-star glow slash. The full health Luban Master was suddenly at half health, and Yang Yuhuan was on the verge of death. They were stunned. I was at level 4, but because I had dominated the lane, Yang Yuhuan was still only level 3. She didn't have her ultimate to save herself. She panicked and burned her flash to get away. I waited for my cooldown. The moment my dash was ready, I lunged forward. I poked through her with my blade, ending her right there. Now, only the support was left. Instead of retreating with my pixel of health, I went on the offensive. I started hunting the Luban Master. Fan was losing his mind. He didn't even try to fight back anymore. He just turned and bolted. But as he reached the edge of the lane, my first skill came off cooldown. I hit the combo perfectly. 1-2 dash, and then the fourth 7-star glow slash of the fight. Triple kill. The announcement echoed across the map. It was a masterpiece of kiting and mechanical skill. I had woven 4 passives together in one continuous flow of steel. "I was just waiting for my passive," I said with a confident laugh. "What were you guys waiting for?" My live stream chat exploded. People were losing their minds. 1 versus 3? That was a real 1v3. He killed 3 people while he was one shot. This is the ceiling for Charlotte. Absolute god tier. This wasn't like yesterday's game with Daxian, where I was playing against average players. I was playing against pros and top-tier streamers at the 2,200-point rank, and I had just wiped them out like they were nothing. The gifts started flooding my screen, a constant blur of notifications. "Thanks for the gifts, guys," I said, keeping my eyes on the map. "Make sure to hit that follow button. We're heading for rank 1 in the country. You're all watching a legend in the making." While I was busy down south, a war had broken out in the top lane. Fu Lai had led a 4-man dive against the enemy Lu Bu and Bei Mu's Luna. They thought they could just steamroll the tower. But Bei Mu reminded everyone why he was a top-tier pro. Even trapped inside Fu Lai's ultimate arena, his Luna danced. He executed an infinite combo so fast it was hard to track. In 2 seconds, he chained 5 skills and 3 ultimates together. Before he went down, he dumped every ounce of damage into Fu Lai, taking the old man with him. The enemy Lu Bu joined the fray, hitting level 4 at the perfect moment. He dropped his ultimate, the Demon God's Descent, crashing down and killing our support, Sun Bin. Fu Lai's team had tried a 4-on-2 dive and ended up losing 3 people. "That was a bad trade," Fu Lai muttered, shaking his head. Then he noticed his teammates were frantically pinging my portrait. "Charlotte, alive, level 4, Charlotte, alive, level 4. Then the triple kill banner flashed across his screen. Fu Lai froze. "What the hell? How did you get a triple kill?" He panned his camera down to the bottom lane. He saw me standing there with a sliver of health, surrounded by 3 enemy corpses. He looked like he was questioning reality. "You fought 3 people? And you didn't die?" "Their carries didn't have flash," I said casually. "They forced my hand. I didn't really want to kill them all, but they just kept coming." Fu Lai sighed, his voice full of mock defeat. I need to watch the replay of that. We went 4-on-2 and almost got wiped. You went 1-on-3 and cleared the lane. You're making me look like a total amateur. I laughed, and so did the thousands of people in his chat. They were roasting him, telling him to take notes and learn how a real pro plays. Fu Lai didn't even argue. He knew he'd just witnessed something special. I headed back to the lane. Meng Lan and Fan Fan were back, playing much more cautiously now under the protection of the support. Meanwhile, Fu Lai decided to lean into his reputation as a tower scrapper, relentlessly pushing the top lane until the first tower finally fell. Down south, I was holding the line alone against their duo. Meng Lan was using Renjia's long range to poke at my tower, trying to chip away at its health. He thought he was safe. He thought he was the one applying pressure. I watched him throw out a gold card. I saw his positioning shift. In my head, I had already calculated the distance. Renjia is already dead, I whispered. The enemy team tried to set a trap, clustering together to protect their carry. I didn't care. Even though I was alone, I lunged forward with my first and second skills, initiating a fearless charge. While Fu Lai was busy tearing down the top tower, he panned his camera back to the bottom lane. He saw me facing off against Meng Lan's Renjia and Fan Fan's Luban Master. They were pushing hard against my tower. Meng Lan managed to land a gold card, stunning me in place. Most players would have retreated, but I didn't flinch. I used the nearby minions to stack my passive. The moment the stun wore off, I struck. I chained my first and second skills into a 7-star glow slash. My second skill was off cooldown in just 2 seconds, allowing me to dash forward again. I was a blur of steel, using 3 consecutive dashes and massive burst damage to shred Meng Lan's health. Fan Fan realized his carry was in trouble and activated Luban Master's ultimate to pull me away. I timed my own ultimate perfectly. The super armor frame kicked in, negating the crowd control entirely. I unleashed a second 7-star glow slash. Meng Lan panicked and used flash to retreat under his tower, but I didn't let him go. I flashed right after him, landed a basic attack, and secured the dive kill. Fu Lai was speechless for a second before he started narrating like a professional caster. Wow, that was too smooth. His combos have 0 lag. He timed the super armor to ignore the pull perfectly. This Charlotte is on another level. He always has 2 passives ready before he even commits. His chat was exploding with praise, but I wasn't done. Our jungler had just been ambushed and killed by Bei Mu's Luna near the red buff. I grabbed a health pack from under my tower and sprinted toward the jungle. I was hunting Bei Mu. I used my first skill on a jungle bird to reset my cooldowns and close the gap. Bei Mu tried to dance around me, but I forced him into a corner with 2 rapid-fire dashes. He was forced to break his ultimate chain just to escape. I almost had him, but Fan Fan's Luban Master arrived just in time, using his tether to pull Bei Mu to safety. I kept chasing. I wasn't letting them off that easy. Seeing that I wouldn't stop, Fan Fan turned back and used his first skill to knock me up. He sacrificed himself to save his star jungler. I took the kill. Godlike echoed through the map. It was only 4 minutes into the game, and I already had 6 kills. I was 1 kill away from being legendary. My teammates were spamming my icon and typing 666 in the chat. My own stream was losing its mind. People who thought I was just a low-rank stomper were seeing me dominate a top 100 lobby. My subscriber count hit 90,000, and my viewers peaked at 800,000. The donations were pouring in. Thanks for the gifts, guys, I said calmly while farming. Keep following. Honestly, Charlotte is one of my weakest heroes. My other offlaners are much stronger. On the enemy team, the mood was grim. Meng Lan was sitting at 0 kills and 3 deaths. If they didn't recognize his voice, they would have thought he was an imposter. My bad, Meng Lan sighed. I didn't think a Charlotte could be this oppressive. After that play, I swapped lanes with Fu Lai. I sent him to the bottom to do what he does best, scrap towers, while I went top to draw pressure. I was better at fighting outnumbered anyway. Bei Mu and the enemy Lu Bu thought they could shut me down. They jumped me together, but I moved like a script. I sidestepped their abilities, baited out Luna's ultimate until it went on cooldown, and then turned the fight around. Legendary. I killed one of them and forced the other to retreat with a sliver of health. Lubu just shook his head. I was too fed to be stopped. With me distracting two people, Fu Lai had a free pass. Backed by our Sun Bin and Ing Zheng, he tore through two towers in the bottom lane. By the 6-minute mark, we were knocking on their high ground base. We rotated to the middle lane to end it. The enemy team tried to defend, poking us down until Fu Lai and I were at half health. Thinking we were weak, they charged out to start a team fight. They were too impatient. Our Sun Bin used his speed boost to pull us back, resetting the engagement. Then, Fu Lai saw an opening. He used a flash ultimate combo to grab Lu Bu right as he landed. The final battle erupted. I didn't jump in immediately. I stayed on the edge, tossing small skills to prime my passive. When I saw 3 of them clumped together, I struck. I dashed in. 7-star glow slash. Ultimate. Another 7-star glow slash. The gold lead was so massive that they evaporated. I didn't stop. I dashed again, catching Menglan's D Renjia with a triangle blade. Then, I flashed onto the retreating Yang Yuan. Triple kill. Quadra kill. Pentakill. The announcement roared across the screen. Another pentakill. I leaned back and exhaled softly. Rank 1? Easy. Yi Gu is a god. My teammates screamed into their mics. In 3 days, I had secured over 20 pentakills. To me, getting 5 kills was as natural as drinking water. The fans in my stream were losing their minds, claiming I was destined to become a legend. I told them I'd reach rank 1 in 3 days. 7 minutes into this match, I had a pentakill and the enemy base was crumbling. Fu Lai sounded dazed. A pentakill? Just like that? How does he make it look so easy? He didn't waste time. He led the charge down the bottom lane. Our minions flooded their crystal. The enemy team was silent, broken. Meng Lan sighed in the global chat, apologizing to his teammates. He said playing against my Charlotte was pure torture. The crystal shattered. Victory. I clicked through to the settlement screen. My heart hammered against my ribs. There it was. National rank, 1. Peak points, 2303. I couldn't help but grin. A month ago, I was just a nobody struggling in low-tier matches. Now, I sat at the very top of the mountain. I told you guys, I said to the camera. 3 days to rank 1. I kept my word. My stream popularity exploded, hitting 1 million viewers. My followers surged to 100,000 in an instant. Meanwhile, Fu Lai was staring at the leaderboard in his own room. He was rank 5, looking up at my ID, Pashao, sitting at the throne. He pulled up the replay of our match, mumbling to himself. He realized why I refused to swap lanes at the start. I didn't want to avoid the pressure. I wanted to crush it. This kid has a massive heart, Fu Lai told his audience. Most players run when they're low on health. He only thinks about how to turn around and kill you. His Charlotte is better than any pro I've ever seen. Over at the Foshan GK Pro Team training base, the atmosphere was a lot louder. Meng Lan's frustrated shout echoed through the halls. He had dropped from rank 1 to rank 3 in just 7 minutes. His teammates gathered around, shocked that a pro could get rolled that quickly. One of them, Bai Shou, recognized my name immediately. He had been destroyed by me in an 8-minute game earlier that week. Then, a notification popped up on Meng Lan's screen. He had been reported for poor performance and lost 4 credit points. He nearly lost his mind. He knew it was me who reported him. Back in my room, I felt a sudden chill and sneezed. I rubbed my nose, wondering who was talking about me. At the same time, the famous streamer Decien was wrapping up his broadcast. After saying goodbye to his fans, he remembered the Charlotte player he met 2 days ago. He wondered if I had reached 2,000 points yet. He clicked on my profile, and his expression froze. His eyes widened until they looked like they might pop out of his head. 2303, he gasped. He rubbed his eyes, thinking it was a glitch. He exited and re-entered the page. The numbers stayed the same. I had climbed 800 points in 48 hours. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed his phone and called Xiao Quan, the manager of his pro team, XYG. Have you been watching that Charlotte player? Decien asked urgently. I was just about to call you, boss, Xiao Quan replied, his voice shaking. He just hit rank 1. He absolutely slaughtered 2 pros and Bei Mu in 7 minutes. Decien took a deep breath. Can we get him? Find his contact info. Ask the platform if you have to. We need to sign him before the other pro teams realize what's happening. Move fast. The race to sign me had officially begun. It wasn't just Daxian and his team, XYG, making moves. At that exact moment, over a dozen KPL professional teams were springing into action. Every major team has data analysts whose entire job is to scour the top 100 players on the leaderboard. They look for fresh talent, hoping to find the next superstar while they're still cheap and undiscovered. Most of the current legends, like Ming Lan and Yao Jing, started as anonymous road kings on the ladder. But my rise wasn't normal. I wasn't just a rising star. I was a meteor streaking across the sky, blinding everyone who looked up. It was just past midnight. The rankings were about to freeze. I had been sitting at rank 2, which was already enough to turn heads. But then, 10 minutes later, the leaderboard refreshed. I had pushed past Ming Lan. I was officially rank 1 in the entire country. Analysts across the country clicked on my profile, ready to break down my stats. They wanted to see if I was actually pro material. When the page loaded, the entire professional scene went silent. I had played 75 matches. My win rate was 95%. In 75 high-level games, I had only lost 4 times. But the number that truly broke their brains was my overall rating. Usually, a rating of 80 is considered expert. Pro players usually hover around 85. If someone hits 90, they're a god-tier genius. My rating was 120. In the Chongqing QG Happy Training Base, a glass crashed to the floor. The team analyst didn't even bother cleaning up the shards. He stared at his screen, his breath hitching in his throat. "How is a rating over 100 even possible?" he whispered. He grabbed his phone and started dialing the manager, the coach, and the team leader all at once. He had been in the industry for years, and he had never seen anything like this. Similar scenes were playing out in training bases all over China. Shouts of "holy crap" echoed through the halls of every major club. Pro players who were mid-practice stopped to see what the fuss was about. Fly, a legendary veteran, stared at my stats and shook his head. Is this guy even human? Over at S-Star, Huahai was already shouting at his manager. "We have to get him. Bring him here now." It was a sleepless night for the KPL. From the powerhouse S-tier teams in Wuhan and Chongqing to the struggling teams in the B-tier, everyone was hunting for my contact information. On social media, I was the top trending topic. The headline, 75 games to rank 1, was exploding. Fans were losing their minds in the comments. Some claimed I was cheating, while others were just in awe. Meanwhile, I was sitting in my room. I had already ended my stream and said goodnight to my fans. I knew the team scouts would be flooding my inbox, and I wasn't wrong. My private messages on every platform were blowing up. My phone started buzzing so much it nearly vibrated off the desk. I didn't go to sleep. I was waiting. I knew that hitting rank 1 in 3 days made me the most valuable prize in the industry. I was going to wait for the offers to roll in and pick the one that treated me best. I had the strength. I held all the cards. Suddenly, my phone rang. I cleared my throat and picked up. "Hello? Is this Mr. Suyi?" a polite voice asked. "I'm the team leader for XYG. We'd like to invite you for a trial. We'd love for you to join our family." He was incredibly respectful, almost humble. I wasn't surprised that XYG was the first to call. In my past life, I knew they were a team with massive potential. Even though they were new, they were already making waves. I leaned back in my chair. "Whether I'm interested depends on your sincerity," I said calmly. "To be honest, 10 other teams have messaged me in the last 5 minutes. I plan on talking to everyone before I make a choice." There was a long silence on the other end. I could hear him whispering to someone else. I wasn't in a hurry. I knew a decision like this had to go straight to the boss. Across the city, in a luxury villa, a man with long hair and a slightly round face was staring at his phone. It was Daxian. He was listening to every word. Daxian looked anxious as he picked up the phone. He was listening to the live report from his team leader. "Sincerity?" Daxian muttered, his eyes narrowing. "Tell him that if his strength is real and he passes the trial, our sincerity will be unmatched. Whatever other teams offer, we will go higher. We will go better. Do whatever it takes to get him into a video trial." After hanging up, Daxian leaned back on his sofa, his breathing heavy with anticipation. As one of the top streamers in the game, he had the financial power to back up his words. His dream had always been to be a pro player, but he had missed his chance when he was younger. Now, He wanted to build a team that could carry that dream for him. He wanted a legend. Still feeling restless, Daxian sent a follow-up text to Xiao Quan, the team leader. Give him a double-or-nothing betting agreement. See if he has the guts to sign it. Back in my room, I waited for about a minute before the voice on the other end returned. I understand your position, Mr. Suyi. I just spoke with our boss. He gave me the green light. No matter what other teams offer, we will beat it. If you pass the trial, you can name your price. I was a bit stunned. Daxian's resources were massive, and if he was truly determined to sign me, the traditional clubs would have a hard time competing. I thought about it for a second and smiled. All right, I understand. I'll be in touch. The moment I hung up, my phone started ringing again immediately. It was a nonstop flood of calls. Hello, Mr. Suyi. I'm the personnel manager from Foshan GK. May I ask how old you are? Do you have plans to go professional? I stayed calm and composed. I'm 18. And yes, I plan to play professionally. I've actually already received a firm commitment from Daxian at XYG. Mentioning XYG gave me immediate leverage. The GK manager grew noticeably excited and started talking a mile a minute. He told me their boss was a famous national superstar with deep pockets. He offered me a 3 million yuan signing bonus and a monthly salary of 50,000. On top of that, the club would handle my streaming career and only take a 30% cut. I'll think about it, I said with a smile. The manager was sharp. He knew I was weighing my options. He added that if anyone offered more, they were open to further negotiations. I hung up, and another call clicked in instantly. Then another. Wuhan E-Star Pro, Chongqing Wolves, Guangzhou TTG, Nanjing Hero, Chengdu AG Super Play. Every major team from the S and a tiers was reaching out. I talked to all of them, taking notes and comparing the numbers. Most teams offered between 50 to 80,000 yuan a month, with signing bonuses ranging from 3 to 5 million. The lowest was the Wolves at 3 million, while AG Super Play offered the highest, 5 million up front and 80,000 a month. I knew why AG was so aggressive. A team like the Wolves already had a superstar like Fly and didn't desperately need a new side laner. AG, however, had been struggling with a weak side lane for a long time. They needed a battle god who could carry the entire team. By the standards of the KPL, these were top-tier salaries. The absolute legends of the league, players like Fly, Inua, or Qingqing, earned around 200,000 a month, but they had years of championship glory behind them. For a complete newcomer like me to get these offers was unheard of. I kept talking until 1:30 in the morning. Finally, the call stopped. I looked down at my notebook and let out a long, shaky breath. 3 days ago, I was struggling just to find my next meal. Now, the biggest teams in the country were begging me to join them. After reviewing everything, I decided to call XYG back first. They were the first to reach out, and they were the only ones who hadn't given me a hard number yet. They claimed they could beat anyone. It was time to see if they meant it. Xiao Quan picked up on the first ring. He had clearly been sitting by the phone. Mr. Suyi, he said, his voice familiar now. I assume you finished your rounds. Tell me, who offered the most? AG offered the highest, I replied calmly. 5 million for the signing bonus and 80,000 a month. And they said that's just the starting point for negotiations. I left the sentence hanging, letting the silence do the work. Xiao Quan realized I wasn't some naive kid he could lowball. He didn't hesitate. 8 million signing bonus. 100,000 a month. My heart skipped a beat. That was a life-changing amount of money, more than most people see in several lifetimes. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay cool. Xiao Quan sensed my silence and thought I was still hesitating. If you're not satisfied with that, I have something else. I have a double-pay betting agreement here. I wonder, Mr. Suyi, do you have the confidence to sign it? I realized what was happening immediately. What kind of agreement? I asked. Send it over. Let me take a look. The file hit my phone seconds after I spoke. I opened it and saw the words double pay betting agreement staring back at me in bold letters. The terms were clear. My base salary was set at 100,000 a month, but if I could lead XYG to a championship or even a runner-up finish in a top-tier league, that salary would instantly double to 200,000. Not only that, but they would retroactively pay me the difference for every month I had already worked. In this world, top-tier league meant the KPL, the World Champion Cup, or the Challenger Cup. These were the big stages, dominated by established giants. For a team like XYG, which had just crawled out of the national competition, reaching a KPL final was considered a pipe dream. It was practically impossible, but there was no catch. Even if I failed to reach the finals, my salary stayed at a solid 100,000. This was Dacian's way of making me a promise. He was telling me that if I had the talent to lead his team to glory, he was willing to pay me a top-tier KPL salary, the kind of money legends like Fly or Inua made. I didn't need long to think. I'll sign it, I said firmly. And I'll get you that championship. With my maxed-out mechanical skills, I was already crushing high-ranked streamers and pros. Once I officially joined the team and completed my system tasks, I would unlock even more abilities. With 2 maxed-out stats, the professional stage wouldn't stand a chance. Besides, XYG had potential. In my memory, they were a strong squad that eventually made the top 4. They didn't lack talent. They lacked a leader, a core to hold them together. Every legendary team had a soul. QG had Fly, E-Star Pro had Huahai, and AG had Menglei and Inua. I wanted to be that for XYG. Joining an old powerhouse and winning a trophy felt too easy. Taking a brand new team from the bottom all the way to the KPL throne? That was a challenge worth taking. That was the perfect story. Xiao Quan sounded like he was about to burst with joy on the other end of the line. Great. I'll send over the formal electronic contract now. Once you've reviewed it, just sign. We can arrange your travel whenever you're ready. I thanked him and hung up. When the contract arrived, I went over it word by word. I trusted Dacian's character, but when it came to legal documents, you could never be too careful. Once I was sure there were no traps, I signed my name. Just like that, I was a professional player for XYG. The 8 million yuan signing bonus was scheduled to hit my bank account at the end of the month. As soon as I finished, the familiar system chime rang in my head. Ding. Task: join a professional team completed. Reward: 1 max level ability. Please choose an attribute to upgrade. My eyes lit up. This was it. I had already tasted what max level mechanics could do. It had made me the #1 player on the ladder. If I added another one to the mix, I'd be unstoppable. New task issued. The system continued. Lead the team to the 2021 honor of King's World Champion Cup Finals. I looked at my attribute panel, feeling that familiar indecision. Aside from my maxed-out mechanics, I had 5 other choices: reaction time, hand speed, game understanding, game awareness, and macro strategy. After a moment of silence, I made my choice. Upgrade game awareness to max level. In the world of gaming, there are 2 types of gods: the mechanical gods and the awareness gods. A mechanical god wins through raw skill, but an awareness god wins by knowing exactly what is happening at all times. There was a famous streamer named Han Han who dominated the leaderboards for years, not because he was the fastest, but because his awareness was so sharp people thought he was cheating. If I had both, I could walk through the KPL like it was a playground. A flood of information rushed into my brain. I suddenly understood the rhythm of the game on a different level. I knew exactly when an enemy jungler would start their buffs, exactly when they would gank, and exactly where a support was hiding even if they weren't on the map. It was like having a permanent map hack. By the time I finished processing everything, it was 2 in the morning. I was exhausted. The stress of the last 3 days finally caught up to me, and the moment my head hit the pillow, I was out. I slept until 9 the next morning, completely missing my usual start time for streaming. I scrambled out of bed, brushed my teeth, and fired up the PC. When I looked at my subscriber count, I rubbed my eyes, thinking I was hallucinating. Last night, I had a little over 100,000 followers. Now, that number had more than doubled to 230,000, and it was climbing every time I refreshed the page. I checked my phone and realized why. I was the #1 trending topic on TikTok. Player reaches rank 1 with 75 consecutive wins, was plastered everywhere, with over 10 million people watching the clips. My career hadn't even officially started, and I was already a star. I put my phone away and glanced at the chat. It was a mess. Fans were losing their minds, spamming insults because I was late. I quickly leaned into the mic to apologize. Sorry, brothers. I stayed up way too late last night and overslept. This morning, the goal is simple. We're hitting 100 stars. It's past 9 now, and I'm at 86. I'll try to win 14 games straight, and wrap this up by noon. The insults stopped instantly, replaced by pure shock. 3 hours to win 14 games at this rank. It was statistically impossible. The screen was a blur of doubt, but my old fans stepped up to defend me. They told the newcomers to get ready for their faces to be slapped. They called me the war god of the side lane, and his six-sided warrior, who could handle any hero. To them, hitting 100 stars was as easy as slaughtering a chicken. I didn't want to let them down. With my max-level awareness active, the game felt different. I could see everything. I knew where all 5 enemies were at any given moment. Combined with my mechanical skill, I wasn't just playing, I was harvesting. Even at nearly 90 stars, I was ending games in 6 or 7 minutes. I won 6 games in the first hour. 2.5 hours later, I hit the 100-star mark. I checked the clock. It was only 11:30 a.m., faster than I'd even predicted. If you think I played all right, hit that follow button, I said casually. The chat exploded. All right, you just steamrolled 100-star lobbies in 7 minutes. One fan screamed through text. Others started comparing my looks and skills to handsome readers, a running joke in the community. But one comment stood out. The host is this good. Why not go pro and make a name for yourself instead of being a small streamer? I smiled. I love this atmosphere. Streaming was fun, and it paid the bills, but I knew I belonged on a bigger stage. I wanted to reach the top before I even thought about retiring back to a webcam and a microphone. Brothers, I'm definitely going pro, I told them. I'm heading to Shanghai this afternoon for a trial. I probably won't be able to stream tonight, so don't wait up. If the trial goes well, you'll see me on the KPL stage. The chat filled with well wishes. The fan who suggested it was stunned, replying that he was just joking around. But I wasn't. XYG had already booked my flight and offered to cover my expenses. I hailed a taxi to the airport, feeling a rare sense of confidence as I paid the fare. After a 2-hour flight, I touched down in Shanghai. As I walked into the arrivals hall, I spotted a familiar figure. A tall man with long, flowing hair was waving at me. Even with a mask on, that iconic hair gave him away instantly. It was Zhang Daxian. He hadn't come alone. He brought the entire team to pick me up. At this point, XYG had just won the national championship and entered the KG League. They weren't famous yet. The 5 boys standing there, Kuxi, Jiyue, Lingming, Xiaodo, and Shiha, were just kids chasing a dream. Passers-by didn't even give them a second look. Seeing my favorite streamer in the flesh felt surreal. Suyi, Daxian's cheerful voice snapped me out of it. I walked up and shook his hand. Boss Zhang. I really have to thank you for carrying me the other night. He laughed, his voice warm and welcoming. No, I should thank you for giving me the chance to go pro, I replied. Daxian patted my shoulder. A true hero comes from the youth. I had no idea our platform was hiding a master like you. I kept it humble. I'm okay for ranked games, but pro matches are a different beast. He seemed impressed by my attitude. We piled into a private car, and as we drove toward the base, he introduced the team. I already knew their stats by heart, but I listened intently. These were my future teammates. In my head, I was already eyeing the captain's spot. By the time we reached the base, a massive, luxury villa, I was already getting along with 4 of them. Kuxi, the side laner, was the only one who stayed quiet. He was known as the cool guy, and since I was there to compete for his specific position, the tension was natural. But I could tell he wasn't a bad guy. He was just shy. These 5 were like unpolished jade, pure, hardworking, and free from the toxic drama that plagued other KPL teams. This was exactly why I chose XYG. Inside, the villa was incredible. Gym, media room, training hall, it had everything. Once the tour was over, it was time for the real work to begin. My trial was split into 2 parts, a standard professional skill test, followed by a live combat trial. It was time to show them what a battle god really looked like. I had to face off against XYG's current side laner, Kuxi, in a best-of-3 1v1 duel. If I won, a full best-of-5 team scrim was waiting for me. This trial was mostly a formality. My rank and stats already proved I was top tier, but the team had a rule: no free rides. Every player had to earn their spot, so the rest of the roster would respect them. Professional teams don't house dead weight. The first stage of the trial took place in the XYG training room. They hooked me up to various machines to test my reaction time, hand speed, and dynamic vision. I felt calm, but the results were strange. Since my system stats were all at a flat 60, the bare minimum for a pro, I passed the test easily, but I didn't break any records. The team manager, Quan, and coach Putao Tang huddled over my report, whispering frantically. They looked like they'd seen a ghost. Based on my gameplay footage, they expected me to have godlike reflexes. Instead, the data showed I was just average. I was at the same level as the rest of the team, nothing more. They were baffled, but they moved us into the second stage to find answers. This was the 1v1 combat test. Cuxi and I sat across from each other and entered a private 5v5 lobby. We had to pick the same hero. First to 3 kills, or the first to take a tower 1. Daxian gave Cuxi a stern nod, and Cuxi just replied with a silent, focused stare. For the first round, we both locked in Ma Chao. If you want to prove you're a pro, you play the high-skill meta heroes. Our lineup for the duel was set: Ma Chao, Guan Yu, and Xiaohou Dun. Back then, the flashy Shun Wei skin wasn't out yet, so we both used the basic survivor skin. We headed to the top lane and hid in the bushes, charging our spears. It was all about hitting level 2 first. As the minions clashed, we both lunged at the backline. I hit level 2, threw my first skill through the front minions, and lunged straight at Cuxi. Cuxi didn't back down. He popped his sprint and started trading blows with me. Because he activated his sprint early, his damage was higher. My health bar was melting much faster than his. I realized I couldn't win the trade, so I turned and retreated toward my tower. Seeing me weak, Cuxi pressed the advantage. He chased me down, stabbing me repeatedly until I was a sliver of health. He still had half his HP left. Behind us, Daxian and the others frowned. They looked confused. They had heard I was a beast on Ma Chao, but here I was, getting dominated. Then, everything changed. Just as I reached the edge of my tower, I stopped running. I popped my own sprint and turned around. A perfect return carbine strike followed by my first skill slammed into Cuxi, instantly dropping his half-health bar to a third. Cuxi was stunned that a dying man would fight back, but he didn't panic. He threw his second skill to slow me down. With his skills on cooldown, he started using basic attacks to finish me off. 1 hit, 2 hits. I was 1 tap away from death. I saw the corner of my mouth twitch into a smirk. I'm waiting for my cooldowns, I thought. What are you waiting for? I dropped my second skill and executed a flawless double thrust. With the speed boost from sprint, those 2 hits nearly emptied his health. During the flurry, I micro-stepped and dodged his incoming spear. He missed. He tried to finish me with a basic attack, but Ma Chao heals when he lands a thrust. I healed twice, surviving his last hit by a hair. I threw a final spear. It pierced through Cuxi's chest. First blood. Cuxi stared at his gray screen in total disbelief. He had half his health. I was 1 hit from death. How did I not die? Was it luck? Or was it something else? What just happened? Daxian yelled, leaning in. He turned that around with a sliver of health? That's not a play, that's a magic trick. I didn't let the praise distract me. While Cuxi waited to respawn, I shoved the wave into his tower and went home to heal. I had a gold lead and a level advantage now. By the time Cuxi got back, he had missed 2 minions. He was forced to play safe under his tower until he hit level 4. At the 1-minute 40-second mark, I hit level 4 first. My sprint wasn't up yet, but I didn't care. I dived, dancing in and out of the tower's range, timing my stabs so perfectly that the tower's projectiles couldn't lock onto me before I reset the aggro. It was a textbook tower dive. I killed him under his own structure and walked away with a tiny bit of health left. Cuxi shook his head. He knew it was over. At 3 minutes and 30 seconds, my ultimate was back up. I shoved the wave in again, ready to end it. Cuxi wasn't going down without a fight. He popped his sprint and his ultimate, desperate to use his own tower to turn the tables on me. But a true hunter often appears as the prey. I didn't just poke him for damage. I used every thrust of my spear to reposition, dancing around his attacks. My movements were fluid, like the spear and I were one. Cuxi's skills kept missing air. Even with the tower backing him up, he couldn't match my pace. I dove him again, secured the kill, and dashed out of the danger zone with a sliver of health. The first round ended right there. I won 3-0. Daxian nodded beside me. At this level, one mistake is all it takes, he said. That first slip-up cost him the entire rhythm of the game. The other pro players, Jiu Yu and Shodo, agreed. They were stunned by that initial turnaround. Cuxi let out a long, heavy breath and leaned back. I lost, he admitted. His voice was quiet, but I could see the frustration in his eyes. He felt like it was a fluke, that if he hadn't messed up that first trade, the game would have been different. I looked at him and smiled. Your Ma Chao is excellent. You were just a bit too careless early on. Have you ever heard the saying? Cuxi's brow furrowed. He looked annoyed. What saying? A true hunter often appears in the form of prey, I told him. I didn't explain further. I wanted him to chew on that. He thought I was mocking him at first, but then he went silent, lost in thought. Daxian moved us along to the second round. This time, it was a Guan Yu mirror match. We met in the lane, but neither of us rushed to hit level 2. We circled each other, feinting and pulling back. In a Guan Yu duel, whoever lands the first heavy hit controls the tempo. Cuxi saw an opening and lunged with his first skill. I swung at the same time, but I intentionally aimed mine slightly off. His blade bit deep into me, taking a huge chunk of my health. Round 2 started with me at a massive disadvantage. Cuxi played aggressively now, emboldened by his lead. He pinned me under my tower. I didn't panic. I focused on micromanaging the minion wave, freezing it just outside the tower's reach. At the 1-minute 40-second mark, we were both pushing for level 4. Cuxi realized something was wrong. Because he had been so aggressive, his minions were stacked right in front of my tower. If he wanted to hit level 4, he had to step deep into my territory to clear them. He hesitated, deciding to back off and wait. I didn't give him the chance. I charged forward and landed a perfect strike that cleared 4 minions at once. A golden light flashed over me. I hit level 4 first. I popped my ultimate and sprint instantly. A level 4 Guan Yu against a level 3 Guan Yu isn't even a fair fight. I trampled him, pushing him back into my tower over and over. He couldn't even fight back. First blood. Daxian clapped his hands. Impressive. Winning once might be luck, but doing it twice proves it's pure skill. The other teammates whispered among themselves. He's playing like a pig to eat the tiger. That wave management was too clean. Cuxi was sweating now. His forehead was damp, and his hands were shaking slightly. When he returned to the lane, he played it safe. He waited until the 4-minute mark when both our sprints were back up. We clashed in the middle of the lane. I was a fraction of a second faster. I broke his horse's stride, ruining his momentum. Without his speed, he was a sitting duck. I took the second kill easily. For the final bout, I came back with a massive item advantage. I had rushed ominous premonition for the armor and slow effect, while Cuxi had gone for pure damage. Every time he tried to charge me, the passive slow from my armor killed his speed. He couldn't run, and he couldn't hide. Killing spree. I took the third kill and closed out the set. 3-0, again. Daxian stood up and started clapping. Great games. The level of detail from both of you was incredible. He turned to me and opened his arms for a hug. Welcome to the XYG family, Lin Yuan. You're officially one of us. The rest of the team joined in the applause. The man with the 95% win rate is the real deal, one of them said. Cuxi let out a breath, the tension finally leaving his shoulders. I lost, he said, this time with total sincerity. I finally understand what you meant by that saying. Daxian and the others looked confused. What saying? What are you guys talking about? I looked at Cuxi. You want to explain, or should I? Cuxi gave a wry smile. I'll do it. In that first round with Ma Chao, he missed on purpose. He showed me a weakness to make me think he wasn't that good. He baited me into playing reckless. He was the hunter the whole time. I was just the one walking into the trap. The result of that first duel was simple. I had baited Cuxi into thinking I was struggling, and then, with only half my health left, I turned around and killed him while he was still nearly full. In the second round, I played the same trick. I purposely left openings to make him feel like he had the upper hand. I pushed the lane aggressively, which was exactly what he wanted, or so he thought. He felt safe, got reckless, and I used that to hit level 4 before him. I shut him down again. Daxian and the other 4 teammates stood there, mouths hanging open as Cuxi finished his explanation. It finally clicked for them. I wasn't just playing the game, I was playing Cuxy. I acted like a noob to lower his guard, let my health drop to dangerous levels, and then executed a perfect reversal the moment he overcommit. I had read his psychology like an open book. Daxian understood the how, but he was still curious about the why. He looked at me and asked, Lin Yuan, why go through all that trouble? If you're this much better than him, why not just crush him from the start with pure aggression? I smiled. Because this is the fastest way to get an advantage. If I play aggressively from the first second, a player like Cuxy will become extremely cautious. We'd end up poking each other for 10 or 15 minutes before the match finally ended. By baiting him, I finished the fight in 1 minute. It's high risk, sure. If I mess up the act, I actually die. But the higher the risk, the bigger the reward. The room went quiet. In high-level play, matches are usually a slow grind of testing boundaries and waiting for a tiny mistake. I was forcing those mistakes to happen immediately. Daxian clapped his hands, breaking the silence. All right, enough talk. Let's see how you handle a real team environment. It's time for a scrim. He started making calls to arrange a practice match. To really test my limits, Daxian didn't hold back. He contacted Gappy, a legendary KPL powerhouse that had recently crushed XYG in the Winter Champion Cup qualifiers. These guys were veterans, 5-time champions who lived in the S tier of the professional league. When the rest of the XYG squad heard who we were playing, their faces went pale. They had zero confidence. To them, the chance of beating a giant like QG was basically non-existent. The lobby was set up quickly. Since my joining XYG hadn't been officially announced yet, the outside world had no idea who I was. I logged into Cuxy's account to keep things quiet. Gappy seemed relaxed, probably thinking this was just a casual warm-up. Their star player, Fly, picked Ma Chao. He wanted to practice the Ma Chao Gudo system. Seeing Fly pick Ma Chao, I didn't hesitate. I locked in Charlotte. Daxian nodded, looking pleased. Charlotte counters Ma Chao hard. You should have a good time this round. The game started, and I moved to the top lane to face Fly. Even in a scrim, Fly played like a wall. He was steady and refused to trade hits with me before level 4. But once we both hit level 4, he got ambitious. He started poking me, trying to trade health. I decided to run the old script. I made a few mistakes, letting his spears land until my health was dangerously low. Fly still had more than half his HP. He saw blood. He popped his sprint and his ultimate, diving in for the kill. That was his mistake. I shed my prey skin instantly. Right at the edge of my tower, I turned. I danced around his attacks with perfect movement, dodging his thrusts by hair-thin margins. I chained my skills into 3 consecutive 7-star glow strikes. First blood, I stood over Fly's corpse with a sliver of health remaining. Daxian's eyes nearly popped out of his head. Wow, you actually solo-killed Fly? That reversal was insane. The rest of the team was buzzing. Fly was a legend, the man who defined the side lane for the entire league. And I had just humbled him in our first encounter. Over at the Cappy base, Fly stared at his gray screen in total confusion. Wait, this Charlotte was playing like a bot a second ago. How did he suddenly get so fast? He couldn't wrap his head around it. He had missed 2 crucial hits because of my movement, and it cost him everything. His teammates started teasing him, laughing about how he just got solo killed by a non-pro player. But a solo kill is just one lane. The rest of the map wasn't going so well. Our mid laner, Ling Ming, and our marksman, Shiodo, were getting bullied by QG's rotations. By the 7-minute mark, we were trailing in gold and kills. QG moved into our jungle to steal the blue buff, and a team fight erupted in the river. I was already there, tucked away in a bush. I watched as their jungler, Xiaopeng, threw out his Agudo ultimate, leaving his main body vulnerable. I pounced. A lightning-fast 1-2-3 combo deleted Agudo instantly. I didn't stop there. I used my second skill to dash through the chaos, hunting down their support, Giguzi. Double kill. Just like that, the momentum swung back to us. You're a monster, Daxian shouted. Your positioning is incredible. How did you know they'd be there? Cuxy, watching from the side, just kept nodding. His team-fighting logic is flawless. He waits, he watches, and when he strikes, it's a death blow. I just gave a small smile. With my max-level awareness, the enemy's movements were like a map laid out in front of me. Hiding in the right bush wasn't luck, it was inevitable. The game stretched to 12 minutes, both teams trading blows. Then, the final moment came. Our support, Shiha, landed a perfect stun on two people with Tai Junrin. I followed up immediately, flashing into the middle of 4 QG players and knocking them all into the air with my ultimate. I tore through their backline like a whirlwind. Triple kill. Daxian was losing his mind. Go, go, go. We can end this. There's a wave in mid. With only Agudo left alive to defend, Cappy couldn't stop the push. We shattered their crystal. Match over. I finished 6-0-3 and took the MVP. We had actually beaten Cappy. Maybe there was a bit of luck involved since Cappy underestimated us, but a win was a win. Not long ago, my team, XYG, had been absolutely demolished by them. Now, the atmosphere had completely shifted. Daxian jumped off the sofa, his face beaming with excitement. Yes, well played. That was incredible progress. My 4 teammates stood there in a daze. They couldn't believe how easily we'd won. It felt like the game ended after just 2 key team fights, both of which were dictated by the rhythm I set with my Charlotte. To them, I didn't feel like a newcomer anymore. I felt like a veteran who had been playing with them for years. Cuxi, the player I was filling in for, looked at me with pure respect. Your Charlotte is on another level, he admitted. You and the hero are one. Your timing and positioning were perfect. Our manager, Quan, nodded in agreement. To sync this well with the boys on your first day, that's a rare talent for teamwork. I just offered a small smile and stayed quiet. I didn't need to brag. The results spoke for themselves. Over at the Cappy training base, the mood was much heavier. Fly stared at the defeat screen, looking frustrated. My bad. I got careless. I didn't expect Cuxi's Charlotte to be that aggressive. Fanfan nodded. That Charlotte had something special. It reminded me of a certain top-tier player from the high-rank ladders. Their marksman, Yao Dao, laughed, but with a sharp edge. Stop joking around. If word gets out that we lost a scrimmage to a semi-pro team, it'll be embarrassing. Let's get serious. The series was a best of 5. The second match started almost immediately. This time, I picked Guan Yu, while Fly went with Lu Bu. Early on, the lane was a stalemate. But once I hit level 4, I saw my opening. Fly's Lu Bu didn't have his flash up. I popped my ultimate and sprint, charging him down. I hammered into him relentlessly, pushing him back until his health was a sliver. Just as I was about to secure the solo kill, their jungler, Xiaopeng, descended on me with Nakaru's ultimate. I didn't panic, and my max level awareness kicked in. I swerved at the last possible second, making Nakaru miss his dive completely. Instead of retreating, I turned back. I swung Guan Yu's heavy blade in a wide arc, hitting both of them. I cut Fly down right in front of his jungler. Then, with barely any health left, I danced away and escaped Xiaopeng's reach. Daxian's jaw dropped, and he shouted, "Another solo kill? And he survived? Is that really Fly he's playing against?" Cuxi's eyes were practically sparkling. It's definitely Fly, and he's playing great, but Yi is just better. His kiting is insane. Lu Bu didn't land a single hit with his first skill. Cuxi was officially a fan. He even started calling me Yigo, a term of respect. The second game followed a similar script to the first. I dominated the top lane, though our bottom lane struggled a bit against Yao Dao. By the 8-minute mark, we met at the Dragon Pit. I found a perfect flank, charging in from behind and pushing 4 members of Cappy into my team. I rode through their formation like a god of war, trampling their carries into the dirt. I died in that exchange, but it didn't matter. My team cleaned up the remaining 3 players easily. At 13 minutes, a fight broke out in the mid lane. Fly landed a massive ultimate with his Lu Bu, and for a second, it looked like XYG was going to be wiped out. I came screaming in from across the map on my horse, diving straight for their backline. I deleted their damage dealers and managed to gallop away with a sliver of health. The momentum flipped instantly. We wiped them out and pushed straight through the middle to destroy their crystal. 2 wins in a row. If the first win was luck, the second was pure, raw skill. Daxian was practically speechless. Yi Bao, that flank was beautiful. Just beautiful. He knew right then that every penny he spent to bring me here was worth it. The third game was a different story. I played Xiahou Dun and bullied Fly's Zhu Beiji so hard he couldn't even leave his turret. I was an unkillable frontline, but Gappy showed why they were pros. They stalled the game until Yao Dao's Jia Luo reached full build. Eventually, even my tankiness couldn't hold out against that much damage. We lost the late game. The score was now 2-1. For the fourth game, I stopped holding back. I locked in my signature hero, Ma Chao. Fly countered with Mulan, clearly wanting a rematch of skill. At level 2, I killed him. I used the same trick as before, acting weak, baiting him in while low on health, and then executing a perfect counterattack. Daxian didn't even scream this time. He just nodded, as if solo killing the best player in the league was now a normal Tuesday for me. With the lead, I took over the comms. Focus on me, I told the team. We play through top. We took the first tower at 4 minutes. At 6 minutes, I bagged a triple kill at the dragon. By 10 minutes, I popped my ultimate and sprint, darting through the enemy like a golden blur. Quadra kill. The screen flashed as I tore Cappy apart. We were one fight away from ending it. I was split pushing the side lane when 3 of them, Fly's Mulan, Xiaopeng's Luna, and their support Liu Bang, came for me. They were desperate to shut me down. Daxian watched his screen, breathless. Yi, get out of there. Wait, can he actually fight this? I didn't run. I used my spears to dash, dodging Mulan's silence. Then, I timed a strike perfectly to break Luna's ultimate reset. I turned back into the 3 of them, a whirlwind of steel and speed. Right under the noses of Fly and the support, I skewered Xiaopeng's Luna and finished her off. Fly and Liu Bang were furious, lunging at me with everything they had. But it was too late. My team arrived like a tidal wave, crashing into the remaining enemies and ending the game right there. 3-1. We had actually beaten the pros. We won. The final score was 3-1 against Gappy. Daxian was so excited he practically slammed his hand onto my shoulder, shaking me with pure joy. He kept telling me how incredible that last outplay was. He called me his treasure brother and said my mechanics were off the charts. I just stayed humble. I told him it was the team playing well that gave me the space to move. I meant it too. We were a team coming straight from the national competition. To hold our rhythm against a powerhouse like Gappy was huge. If my teammates had collapsed early, no amount of skill on my part could have saved the game. As soon as the video call ended, the other 4 guys, Jiuyu, Xiaodou, Lingming, and Shihi, swarmed me. They were all talking at once, dying to know how I got so strong. One asked how I managed to solo kill Fly 3 times. Another admitted he was so nervous playing against pros that he could barely move his fingers, let alone make plays. They were baffled by my win rate and my rank. I just laughed, not even knowing which question to answer first. Daxian waved them off and told everyone to settle down. The match was over, and it was time to celebrate. He was taking us out for a welcome feast. We headed to a 5-star hotel nearby. Aside from Daxian, we were all around the same age, so the conversation flowed easily. By the time the food hit the table, the ice had completely melted. We were brothers, arms draped over each other's shoulders, laughing like we'd known each other for years. Daxian watched us with a satisfied nod. He didn't want a cold, professional organization. He wanted XYG to be a family. He looked at us and asked a serious question. Why were we here? What were we chasing? Jiuyu spoke up first about his esports dream. Xiaodou said he wanted the KPL championship trophy. Ling Ming and Shi talked about the thrill of winning and the drive to keep getting stronger. I just smiled and stayed quiet. They had already said everything I felt. Daxian flipped his long hair and told us his dream was to make our dreams come true. He said seeing us grow felt like looking at his younger self. There was a touch of nostalgia in his eyes that moved everyone. Most people in this industry are in it for themselves, but Daxian was different. He was truly devoted to the game. After dinner, he headed home to start his own stream. He joked that running a team was expensive and he had to work hard to pay the millions in entry fees once we made it to the KPL. Before leaving, he gripped our hands and told us to win the K-League championship and earn our spot in the big leagues. We all promised him we wouldn't let him down. In the original timeline, I knew XYG was supposed to take second place. But with me here, history was going to change. I officially moved into the base. My room and training desk were all set. Because the K-League schedule was so intense, I had to stop my personal live streams. I vanished from the internet as quickly as I had appeared. My viewers were furious about being stood after I had just started getting famous, but the old fans understood. They knew I was chasing something bigger. A small stream wasn't enough for the talent I had. I needed a real stage. Life at the base was grueling but rewarding. The other 5 guys treated me with huge respect, not just because of my rank, but because I was helping lead the team during practice. Their work ethic was insane. They didn't care about entertainment. Every spare second was spent training or watching match replays. It made me realize I had picked the right place. Even with the busy schedule, I kept my rank 1 spot on the ladder. Every time someone tried to overtake me, I'd just grind until I was 50 points ahead again. In my downtime, I video called my sister, Suhi. I told her to study hard and stop being so stingy with the money I sent. She just nodded obediently like she always did. My teammates would crowd around the phone, commenting on how pretty she was. Shodo even went as far as calling me brother-in-law. I glared at them immediately. She was still in school. They needed to back off. Time flew by. 2 weeks passed in a blur of clicking mice and shouting strategies. Finally, it was time. We reached the Keijao finals at the Huizhou Combat Center. On one side stood us, the newcomers from the national competition. On the other side was GOG, an old-school powerhouse that had been dominating the league. Neither of us had lost a match in weeks. The stage was set, and the world was watching. Aside from a single loss against us in the group stages, GOG had a perfect record. They were a powerhouse, a wall that wouldn't crumble easily. Even though the match was still hours away, both teams had arrived early at the arena. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Inside the XYG lounge, Coach Pu Tao Teng sat me and the other 5 guys down. We huddled around a monitor, rewatching GOG's group stage footage. We dissected every rotation and every objective they took. After the video ended, the coach looked grave. He admitted that GOG was strong, maybe even more disciplined than us in their coordination. They were veterans, and this was a best-of-7 series with a global ban pick system. We had never played a BO7 before. We lacked the experience. I nodded along with the rest of the guys. It was the truth. XYG was a young team. We hadn't been together long, and our synergy wasn't perfect yet. The only way to fix that was through the fire of competition, game after game. Then, the coach's expression shifted. A small, confident smile played on his lips. He told us not to worry too much because we had a hidden trump card. He turned his gaze toward me. The other guys followed suit, grinning mischievously. It made my skin crawl a bit, but I knew what they were thinking. Coach Pu Tao Teng explained his plan. He had seen what I did in our private scrims when I absolutely crushed QG Happy. Even if QG wasn't going all out, beating a top-tier KPL S group team proved I was on another level. I was a weapon meant to sweep the K-League. He had kept me on the bench during the group stages for this exact reason. He wanted me to be the surprise that caught GOG completely off guard. With the strategy set, the mood in the room lightened. We spent the remaining time relaxing and getting our heads in the game. When 6 p.m. rolled around, a staff member knocked on our door. It was time. As we walked into the arena, the roar of the crowd hit me like a physical wave. The place was packed. Usually, K-League matches don't get this much attention. Most fans only care about the top-tier KPL. But today was different because of XYG. Since Daxian founded the team, we carried his massive fame with us. XYG, XYG, XYG. The chants drowned out everything else. Even though GOG had their fans, our supporters were louder, more desperate for a win. We stood on stage as the big screens played a montage of our journey, the wins, the crushing defeats, the highs, and the lows. It was a reminder of everything we had sacrificed to get here. We took our seats. The lights dimmed, and the 3 commentators, Xiao Lu, Yu Yu, and Ping Zi, took their positions. Ping Zi was like a father figure to our team. He had watched us grow since the amateur TGA days. He was humble, refusing to jinx the match, predicting a 50-50 split. He knew GOG would be our toughest hurdle yet. The stats flashed on the screen. Our KDA was the highest in the league, but GOG beat us in objective control and jungle dominance. It was a clash of styles. The draft began. In a BO7, once you use a hero, You can't use them again for the rest of the series. Every pick was a gamble. Coach Pu Tao Tang and GOG's coach, Ji Jian, traded bans and picks like grandmasters playing chess. For the first game, we took Lu Bu, Lan, and Shun Mingxi. GOG countered with a heavy-hitting lineup featuring Jing and Marco Polo. Meanwhile, back in his studio, Daxian was live-streaming the match. He had a bowl of orange peels ready. He'd made a bet with his fans. If XYG won the finals, he'd eat the peels raw. He looked at our first game draft and nodded, feeling confident. But sitting back in the lounge, watching the screen, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. My brow furrowed. Because I was a transmigrator, I knew how this was supposed to go. According to history, XYG was about to lose 3 games in a row. I watched the screen as the first game collapsed. GOG took the win, 4-1 in terms of towers, and it was painful to witness. On paper, our lineup was perfect. We had T0 and T1 tier heroes across the board. Lin Yuan's Lu Bu was a direct counter to GOG's Meng Qi. But there was a fatal flaw. Our draft was too focused on the early game. I knew if we didn't end it quickly, GOG's Marco Polo and Zhou Yu would become monsters in the late game. During my half-month of training with XYG, I'd identified our biggest weakness. Individually, the guys were incredibly strong. They could dominate the first 15 minutes and build a massive lead. But they lacked the killer instinct to close out a game. Everything played out exactly as I feared. Our jungler, Zhou Yu, played Lan perfectly. He secured first blood and took over the enemy jungle. By the 10-minute mark, the kill score was 9-1 in our favor. We were crushing them. But no one stepped up to initiate the final team fight. Our lane management was sloppy compared to GOG. They led us around by the nose, dragging the game to the 20-minute mark. By the time the Storm Dragon arrived, everyone was at full build. Our gold lead meant nothing. GOG caught us out in our own red buff jungle and wiped us. As our crystal shattered, the commentators shouted in unison, "Congratulations to GOG for the comeback victory." The GOG players were laughing and celebrating. My teammates, however, looked devastated. Their morale was crumbling. Back in the lounge, Coach Pu Tao Tang tried to use a soft touch, offering words of encouragement to steady their nerves. Meanwhile, in his studio, Daxian shook his head at the camera. "The boys are just nervous," he told his fans. "It's fine. No big deal." Game 2 started. Pu Tao Tang's draft was a masterpiece. He secured the Deqiao and Gong Sun Li combo, the most broken duo in the game. It should have been an unlosable match. But the script didn't change. We got the early lead, yet we couldn't turn that advantage into a victory. At the 10-minute mark, during a fight for the dragon, GOG's offlaner, Data, made a god-tier play on Guan Yu. 3 of my teammates were standing in Deqiao's teleport circle, ready to warp home to safety. Data's Guan Yu charged in and pushed all 3 of them out of the circle. It was a total wipeout. We lost in 11 minutes. That one push broke the team's spirit. GOG was now up 2-0, triggering the Destiny rule, where we could pick a hero to use again. I sat there in silence, watching my teammates hang their heads. I wasn't going to speak yet. I was waiting for the coach. I was waiting for my moment. Dacian's stream was exploding. "How do you lose with that draft?" fans screamed in the chat. "Are they even awake?" Daxian looked heartbroken. "Something's wrong with their form today," he muttered. Then he leaned into the mic. "Don't worry, brothers. We still have a secret weapon. One more game. If they can't win the next one, I'm bringing out the ace." Game 3 was more of the same. Pu Tao Tang gave the boys their most comfortable heroes. History repeated itself. Early lead, 0 momentum, no way to finish. The game dragged on for 40 minutes until all our high ground towers were gone. We couldn't even clear the super minions anymore. GOG just walked in and tapped the crystal. 3 losses in a row. One more, and we were out. Coach Pu Tao Tang looked like he was about to lose it. His drafts had been perfect. He'd given them Jing, Lan, and the Deqiao combo, heroes that hadn't even been nerfed yet in this timeline. To lose with those was unthinkable. Daxian couldn't take it anymore either. He picked up his phone and made 2 calls. The first was to the coach. "Put Lin Yuan in. Now." The second call was to me. "Yuan Bao," Daxian said, his voice sincere, almost pleading. "It's all on you now. I know a reverse sweep is nearly impossible, but I believe in you." I felt a surge of adrenaline. I'd expected the 3 losses. I knew this was exactly where I needed to be. "Relax, big brother," I said. "I'll handle them. A reverse sweep is easy." In the lounge, the 5 starters were numb. They had no idea how to win anymore. Pu Tao Tang hung up the phone and gritted his teeth. "Lin Yuan, you're up. We're going all in. With you out there, a reverse sweep isn't just a dream." The atmosphere shifted instantly. The guys remembered how I'd played against Team Wolves. Their shattered confidence began to stabilize. Having a big thigh to carry the game took the pressure off their shoulders. The coach submitted the substitution request during the break. When the players walked back onto the stage for the 4th game, the commentators were stunned. "We have a substitution," Pingzi announced, looking confused. "XYG is swapping out Ku Xie for a newcomer. XYG Pashao." The crowd below erupted into a wave of confused murmurs. "Pashao? Who is that?" I heard a few voices shout. Nobody knew me. To them, I was just some random rookie XYG had thrown into a life-or-death situation. It looked like a desperate gamble. Fans were whispering that swapping out a veteran for a newcomer in the finals was basically giving up. If we had stuck with the original roster, maybe we could have fought for a reverse sweep. Now, they thought we were finished. Daxian, however, remained calm. He knew I was the team's hidden ace. His fans in the live stream weren't as restless as the live audience because they'd seen what I could do. Then, I walked onto the stage. As the cameras locked onto me, my face appeared on the giant screen. I stood at 6'1" with a lean build, and the moment the light hit me, the atmosphere flipped. The female fans in the arena started screaming so loud it shook the rafters. My appearance alone caused a riot. Daxian's chat went nuclear. Who is this handsome guy? Did he wander onto the wrong set? Is this the secret weapon Daxian mentioned? Some people finally recognized me. "Wait, that's the Charlotte who carried Daxian in high-tier ranked," they typed. "He could live off his face, but he chooses to play with god-tier skill." The hype was real now. If the man who held a 95% win rate at the top of the ladder was here, maybe, just maybe, a reverse sweep was possible. Back in his room, Daxian flipped his hair and chuckled. "The kid's almost as good-looking as I was in my prime," he joked to his viewers. Across the stage, the GOG players weren't happy. They had won 3 games in a row and expected the crowd to be chanting their names. Instead, everyone was cheering for a rookie. "Dat," their top laner, snorted. "Trying to steal the spotlight? I'll crush him in lane." Their jungler, Lon Mao, nodded. "I'm camping him. I'll teach him a lesson." Even their mid laner, Wendy, was bitter. Being handsome won't save him. They were jealous, plain and simple. To them, I was just a ranked star who wouldn't be able to handle a real professional match. I sat down and began debugging my equipment. The coaches took their places on stage, and the commentators started their analysis. "GOG has 1 foot over the finish line," Pingzi said. "More like both feet and both hands," Xiaolu added with a laugh. "They only need 1 more win. They've been playing like a tiger in sheep's clothing all day." Even when XYG got their best heroes in the earlier games, GOG still shut them down. They came prepared. They kept talking about how impossible our situation was. Only one team in the history of the KPL had ever pulled off a reverse sweep from a 0-3 deficit. For us to do it now, in the finals, was hell mode difficulty. The draft began. We were on the blue side. We banned out the big threats like De Qiao and grabbed a powerful Mahi composition, Ma Chao and Agudo, paired with my Shiranui. It was a high-mobility, high-damage setup. GOG countered with a slingshot combo, Jiang Zia and Luban No. 7. It was their own secret weapon for the finals. "They're putting the whole game on Peijiao's Ma Chao," the commentators noted. By the end of the second ban phase, the rosters were locked. I took Ma Chao with Sprint. My jungler, Jiu Yu, took Agudo. We had a strong front line and a terrifying dive potential. GOG had a tanky Zhu Beiji and a bursty Li Yuanfang. Even the famous analyst Gem was watching. He shook his head on his stream. "I don't see it for XYG. The pressure is too high, and they're playing with a rookie. There's no way the chemistry is there." His fans immediately started joking about his poison milk curse. "If Gem says we'll lose, we've already won." The lights dimmed. The crowd's cheers reached a fever pitch. XYG. Win it all. GOG. Victory. I adjusted my headset and stared at the screen. The noise faded away until it was just me and the game. The reverse sweep started now. The cheers of the fans were still echoing in the arena as we loaded into the rift. Everyone on my team, XYG, headed to their lanes normally. GOG did the same, but I noticed a difference immediately. Their player dat was on Zhu Beiji, and he had taken Smite. Since our jungler Jiu was playing Agudo, a hero notoriously weak in the early game, I knew they were going to try something aggressive. The commentators noticed it too. Pingzi shouted that Zhu Beiji was heading straight for mid. He wasn't alone, having Jiangxia and Luban number 7 right behind him. They were aiming for our blue buff. 1D's Jiangxia burned down the backline minions with his first skill, but he didn't stay to soak up the gold. He handed all the experience to the Zhu Beiji, trying to get him to level 2 as fast as possible before invading. I watched the map closely as I cleared my own lane. I saw Zhu Beiji peek out in the mid lane and immediately push my way forward. I was dragging my vision back and forth between my lane and our blue buff. On paper, GOG's plan was perfect. Our Agudo started at the red buff, leaving the blue side vulnerable. A level 2 Zhu Beiji with backup should have been able to walk in and take whatever he wanted. But I caught a tiny detail. Because the Jiangxia had burned the minions too quickly, one of the backline creeps died while Zhu Beiji was slightly out of range. He hadn't hit level 2 yet. Lin Ming, Shihi, fight them at the blue. I called out over the comms. I'm coming to back you up. They nodded instantly, saying on our way. In his streaming room, Daxian was sweating. He saw the enemy already hacking away at the blue buff and panicked. Can we save it? If Jiu loses that blue, he's going to have a miserable game. Wait, look at Su Yi. He's moving. By the time I arrived, the blue buff was at half health. That was ready to smite it. But my teammates, Shihian Tai E and Lin Ming on my Shiranui, were already closing in from the mid lane. I had just hit level 2 on Ma Chao and was sprinting through the river. We had them in a perfect triangular collapse. I ran straight into 1D's Jiangxia at the entrance of the jungle. Don't move, I muttered, echoing my hero's voice line. If you move, you die. I popped my sprint. A trail of red followed me as I lunged. I had already stored a spear, so I unleashed a lightning-fast double-stab combo. Jiangxia's health bar evaporated, dropping below half instantly. What the hell? 1D gasped. He tried to slow me down with his first skill, but with sprint active, I was immune to the slow. I danced around him, keeping the pressure on. Lin Ming didn't hesitate. He used flash combined with his ultimate to knock up both the Jiangxia and the enemy Luban number 7. Nice one, Lin Ming, I shouted. I hurled my cold moonlight spear, piercing right through the dying Jiangxia. First blood. The crowd erupted. Daxian jumped in his seat. Yes, beautiful. My boy Su Yi is carrying. Can we get more? Get the Luban. The commentators were screaming now. Pashao gets the first kill. He's still chasing. GOG is in real trouble here. I didn't stop. I turned my sights on the Luban number 7. Lin Ming followed up with his passive damage to keep him pinned. The enemy support was desperate, flashing toward his mid-tower with slivers of health left. Go stop the pig, I ordered Lin Ming. I'll finish this. I picked up my discarded spear and lunged. 1 hit. 2 hits. The Luban was 1 breath away from death, nearly under the safety of his tower. I calculated the distance and threw my second skill at the absolute limit of its range. I didn't even wait to see it land. I turned around and walked away. The spear dropped from the sky. Double kill. I hurried back to the blue pit. That had managed to smite the buff and hit level 2, but he was trapped. My teammates had him surrounded and half dead. I dove in, spear after spear finding its mark. The tanky pig couldn't withstand the 3 of us. Triple kill. The arena went wild. The sound of the crowd was deafening. Daxian actually jumped off his sofa, yelling at the top of his lungs. He had every reason to be hyped. This game was built entirely around my Ma Chao. For GOG to hand me a triple kill 3 minutes into the game was practically a death sentence for them. The live chat was a blur of messages. Is this rookie actually a god? His combos are so smooth. Jiangxia didn't even have time to react. I take back everything I said about him. The haters tried to chime in, saying it was just one play and didn't mean the game was over, but they were drowned out. On the analyst desk, Ping Z was breathless. A triple kill. Even though Zhu Beiji got the blue buff, giving 3 kills to a Ma Chao this early, XYG just lit a fire that GOG might not be able to put out. The triple kill felt incredible. Even though we were early in the game, our team, XYG, was already trading blood for a massive lead. My Ma Chao was becoming a monster. In the enemy team's voice chat, things were falling apart. Lan Mao, their jungler, sounded stressed. "What the hell are you guys doing?" he snapped. "You tried to steal a blue buff and ended up feeding him a triple?" Dat, the player on Zhu Beiji, sounded defeated. "I didn't even hit level 2. My bad, guys. It's my fault." When he was just as shocked. "The damage on this Ma Chao is insane. 2 spears, and I'm basically dead." Mingwa groaned. "I died for nothing. I just got caught in the crossfire because of Wendy." Their marksman, Ao Han, tried to settle them down. "Stop complaining. Just stabilize. Stop trying to invade for a bit, and just hold your ground." After that team fight victory, I headed back to the top lane with 3 kills in my pocket. My teammates were showering me with praise, and I have to admit, it felt good. There's nothing quite like being hyped up by a group of pro players. Jiu Yu, playing Agudo, followed me up to help me clear the wave so I could hit level 4 as fast as possible. Lan Mao's Nakaruru showed up in the top lane too, but he didn't engage. He waited for Dat's Zhu Beiji to respawn so they could share the experience. We poked at each other for a bit, trading about a third of our health before the junglers rotated toward the mid lane. Down in the bottom lane, the marksmen were clashing, and the junglers needed to help clear the mid wave. That's when I saw an opportunity. "Jiu Yu, don't leave yet," I whispered into the mic. "Stay with me. We can kill this pig." Jiu Yu listened immediately. Instead of heading mid, he ducked into the brush with me. On the big screen, the camera panned down to the bottom lane where our marksman, Xiudo, was getting bullied. His Yahello was nearly dead, forced to flash away to survive. The commentators were shouting about the pressure in the bottom lane, but then the camera suddenly snapped back to the top. Dat's Zhu Beiji had finished clearing his wave and was rotating toward mid. He walked right toward the brush where we were waiting. He had no idea. The moment he stepped in, we pounced. I had my spears ready. I activated my ultimate, Shadow Whirl, and began the triple kick combo, the highest damage sequence Ma Chao can pull off. Every time I lunged, the returning spear dealt extra damage. Jiu Yu dropped his acceleration field to boost my speed, and then threw out his giant panda to stun Dat. Even as a tank, a level 4 Zhu Beiji couldn't survive a focused ambush like that. He didn't even have flash up. He tried to scramble back to his tower, but my spears found their mark. His health bar vanished. "Rampage," the announcer screamed. "For kills in 2 minutes." The crowd went wild. Daxian, watching from his setup, had his eyes wide open. What a read. That ambush was genius. The pig never saw it coming. For kills? He's taking off. The live chat was losing its mind. That triple kick combo was so smooth. This is peak Ma Chao performance. The horse and father combo is unstoppable. In the enemy chat, the silence was heavy. Agudo didn't leave. Dat muttered, his voice trembling. "My fault. I shouldn't have face-checked that brush." Lan Mao's face went pale. "Don't let this Ma Chao get any more fed. He's going to carry the whole game. I'll come up and help you gank him." Dat nodded desperately. "Yes, please. Come as much as you can. We have to shut him down." With 4 kills, I went back to base and bought Boots of Resistance. My damage was peaking, and my sprint was almost off cooldown. I felt invincible, and I knew that if Zhu Beiji tried to show his face again, I could dive him under his own tower. Even if their jungler showed up, I was confident I could take them both. While Dat was waiting to respawn, I rotated to the mid lane to soak up some extra gold from Lin Ming's wave. When I got back to the top lane, I started freezing the line. I stood between Dat and the minions, denying him every single bit of gold and experience. Dat was miserable, having taken Smite specifically to mess with our jungler, but now he was trapped under his tower, unable to use it. Lan Mao saw how desperate his teammate was. "I know you're frustrated," Lan Mao said. "Just hold on. I'm skipping my red buff. I'm coming to kill him right now." Winnie's Zhang Zia followed close behind. They were sending 3 people for me. Back in the studio, Daxian started sweating. "Wait, what is Nakaruru doing? He's skipping his buffs just to gank top?" And Jiangxia is coming too? This is bad. Suyi is pushed up way too far. Everyone thought I was a goner. In professional play, you don't survive a 1-on-3. As Lan Mao's Nakaruru crept into the river brush, Dat's Zhu Beiji suddenly got aggressive, charging at me. I smiled. I knew exactly what was happening. They were here. I didn't panic. I just needed to count them. If it was one person, I'd kill them both. If it was two, I'd kill one and leave. If it was three, well, then I'd just have to show them why they call me the battle god. I saw Nakaruru and Jiangxia appear. I gripped my controller tighter. Sorry, I whispered to the screen. I'm taking at least one of you with me. I threw a spear and lunged toward the top brush to reposition. Dat slammed his second skill into the wall, trying to pin me, while Lan Mao dived from the sky with his ultimate. Wendy's Jiangxia unleashed a flurry of spells into the grass. The trap was sprung, but I was the one holding the blade. The enemy wanted to slow me down and shove me back. They expected me to run. In the commentary booth, Ping Zi and the others were wide-eyed, their voices rising in disbelief. I wasn't running. I was turning back to fight. Xiao Lu screamed into her mic as I popped my sprint and ultimate. My target was Wendy's Jiangxia. He had no flash. I lunged. One spear took half his health. The crowd went wild. They couldn't believe the nerves on me. On the big screen, I didn't just sit in the brush. I maneuvered to the very edge, right near the river. Nakaruru and Zhu Beiji both whiffed their skills, predicting I'd be deeper in the grass. They hit nothing but air. Now it was my turn. I activated Shadow Raid. My spears whistled through the air, returning to my hand. On their flight back, they pierced through Nakaruru and Zhu Beiji before I slammed a thrust directly into Wendy's Jiangxia. It was a perfect triangle play. Protect me. Protect me. Wendy yelled, his face pale. Lan Mao and Dat were stunned. They tried to turn and collapse on me, but they had already wasted their dash skills to enter the brush. They couldn't touch me. By the time they reached my position, Jiangxia was already a corpse. I had deleted him in less than 2 seconds. Unstoppable. Seeing their carry die right in front of them, Dat and Lan Mao lost it. They dumped everything they had left on me, desperate for revenge. I didn't retreat. I danced. I pulled back, threw a spear, collected it, and lunged again. My movements were fluid, like silk. I wanted Lan Mao's Nakaruru next. You wouldn't dare. Dat roared. He charged at me with his meatball jump, trying to knock me up. I gave a slight flick of the stick, a tiny sidestep, and he crashed into nothing. Dat knew it was over. He dropped his ultimate to create a wall and tried to bail. I didn't let him. I thrust my spear right through his wall, piercing Nakaruru and leaving him with a sliver of health. One more spear, one more thrust. I executed Lan Mao right under the shadow of his own tower. Only Dat's half-dead Zhu Beiji managed to waddle away. I had been surrounded by 3 men, and instead of dying, I walked away with 2 kills and nearly half my health remaining. Double kill. The stadium erupted. Daxian was leaning so far forward in his chair, I thought his head was going to go through the monitor. My chat was a blurred mess of WTF and God of War. They wanted to know where this Pashao came from. Was this really the guy with the 95% win rate? He was a monster. In the enemy comms, it was pure chaos. When he looked like he was wearing a mask of pain. He just one-shot me, he muttered. That damage is broken. Lan Mao hissed in frustration. I missed my ultimate. If I hit that, he was dead. It's over, Dat groaned. It's only been 3 minutes, and this Ma Chao is already legendary. Their captain, Mingua, tried to settle them down. Stop fighting him. Just farm. Don't give him more openings. We win the late game. Their comp falls off. That calmed them down a bit. In the previous 3 games, my team, XYG, had early leads but choked them away. They figured this would be no different. Once Jiangxia and Luban Master got their slingshot combo going, they thought they couldn't lose. Meanwhile, in our voice chat, my teammates were losing their minds. Jiozha, you're a beast. Ling Ming shouted. She just laughed. 1 versus 3, and you kill 2? That's just disgusting. I just chuckled. They aren't as tough as I thought they'd be. My teammates nearly choked. If they weren't tough, how did we lose 3 games in a row? The truth was simple. I was just playing on a different level. The pressure didn't stop. After I cleared the top lane, Jiuzhe and Lingming rotated up to help me dive the tower. That couldn't hold it alone. The first tower fell at the 4-minute mark. With that space cleared, I started vacuuming up all the gold on the map, taking both top and mid waves. My economy was skyrocketing. The enemy adjusted. They realized they couldn't stop me, so they ignored me and threw everything at our bottom lane. Xiaodo and Shihi had a rough time, but thanks to Shihi's ultimate on Tai Jinren, they held the line. At 6 minutes, the enemy launched their third desperate assault on the bottom lane. Everyone traded flashes and ultimates. No one died. But then, the camera panned to mid. I was waiting in the brush. Lan Mao's Nakaruru came to clear the wave, thinking he was safe. I didn't give him a chance to breathe. 3 spears. 3 thrusts. I dove the tower and slaughtered him where he stood. Godlike. The crowd was screaming again. Daxian was clapping like a madman. Ye God. He steps up when it matters. 6 minutes in, and he's already godlike. In the commentary booth, Ping Zi was in awe. His combos are so fast. It's like watching art. Xiaolu nodded. It's beautiful to watch. It's his intuition, Yu added. He predicted exactly where Nakaruru would retreat. Lan Mao never stood a chance. On the opposing side, Coach Ji Jian's face was turning purple. Where did this guy come from? He has no pro match data. How am I supposed to scout this? His assistant coach scrambled through a tablet, suddenly shouting in excitement. I found it, coach. This Pashao. He's the one who just hit rank 1 on the ladder. He's the god of the side lane. My brow furrowed as the realization hit. The assistant coach nodded, confirming my suspicion. It was him, the genius teenager who had climbed to rank 1 with a 95% win rate in just 75 games. Coach Ji Jian's face turned an even deeper shade of purple. My performance on Ma Chao was on a completely different level compared to the other players in the K-League. He hadn't seen this kind of aggression and mechanical precision since the peak days of the legendary player Fry. He barked at his assistant to get a copy of my peak data. They had to ban me out in the next round. By the 8-minute mark, I was vacuuming up gold from 2 different lanes. My economy hit 6,600, the highest in the game. I was 1,200 gold ahead of the enemy Nakaruru and 2,000 ahead of my own marksman, Xiaodo. I already had my core items, cooldown boots, black cutlass, and ice pulse. I even picked up a pair of basic straw shoes, planning to upgrade them into resistance boots later. With this build, I only needed 2 spears to delete any squishy target on the map. The enemy team, GOG, decided to group as 4. They wanted to force down our weakened bottom lane tower. My teammates were in trouble. Shihi's Tai, he didn't have his ultimate, and Ling Meng's Ma was low on health. They were ready to give up the tower and retreat. I can make it, I said into the comms, my voice calm. Hold the tower. Just bait them. Hearing my command, Xiaodo stopped his retreat. He stayed near the tower with Shihi, while Jiuyu's Agudo hid in the red buff jungle, waiting for the counter-gank. The enemy Zhu Beiji charged in to tank the tower shots. Zhang Zia stayed back, firing off long-range poke. Xiaodo and Shihi retreated slightly, and right as the tower fell, Xiaodo intentionally showed a weakness. He let the enemy Zhu Beiji pull him in with a skill. The GOG players lit up with excitement. They knew our support had no ultimate. They thought I was still clearing waves in the top lane. To them, this was the perfect chance to wipe us out and claw back into the game. On the commentary desk, Ping Zi was the first to notice my position. Pashao is in the mid-right brush. He's so fast. He bought rapid boots. Xiaolu screamed. Look at him go. Goda's eyes widened. If he gets behind them, it's over. On the big screen, I was a blur of movement. With the rapid boots and my sprint active, I was constantly tossing and retrieving spears to dash forward. I was closing the distance from top to bottom in seconds. GOG had no idea I was behind them. Their Li Yuanfang dashed forward to deal damage. Their Luban master jumped in, ready to pull everyone into a death trap. They were diving deep, desperate for the kill. Suddenly, a flash of yellow light erupted. Shi didn't run. He turned back and used Flash Explode, stunning 3 GOG players at once. What the hell? The GOG players cursed. They were 4 against 2. How did he dare to fight back? Kill them. Kill them both, their leader screamed. A second later, our Agudo leaped out from the jungle. The enemy Zhu Beiji wasn't worried. Doesn't matter. Kill all 3 of them. But as the words left his mouth, a terrified scream ripped through their team chat. Run! It's him! Run! The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. Legendary. The GOG players froze. They looked back and saw their Jiang Ziya's corpse hitting the floor. Zhu Beiji's face twisted into a mask of pain. We're screwed. We're really screwed. I entered the fray like a wolf among sheep. I moved with a fluid, lethal grace, weaving between the 3 remaining enemies. My spears flew back and forth, each strike more seamless than the last. I was sliding through the battlefield like silk. I hit the enemy Li Yuanfang. One spear took half his health. Another spear, and he was gone. GOG panicked, burning their flashes in a desperate attempt to escape. They fought back hard, managing to trade their lives for our marksmen, but it didn't matter. Double kill. Jiu Yu and I cleaned up the rest, securing 2 kills each. It was a 1-for-4 trade in our favor. The crowd went wild. Back in the streaming room, Daxian leaned back in his chair, stunned. That flank was everything. He ran from top to bottom like a god. GOG never stood a chance. The chat was a sea of 666, and God of Ma Chao. The momentum had completely shifted. We weren't just winning, we were dominating. Pashao is playing out of his mind. Pingzi shouted. 1 spear, half a health bar. He's treating them like children. Xiaolu nodded. GOG is collapsing. They're losing their mid-tower, their bottom tower, and the dragon. This is a total disaster for them. The enemy Nakaruru, who had been trying to split push top, stared at the screen in disbelief. His entire team was dead. Where did everyone go? How am I supposed to defend this? The game was effectively over. We rotated mid, shattering their first and second towers with ease. While my teammates were shouting and cheering like a bunch of excited monkeys, I remained calm. I knew we had this. We're flying now, they yelled. Ye God, you're a beast. The frustration from our previous 3 losses vanished. With my high-level game sense, I knew exactly where the enemy was at all times. Shihi handed the shot calling over to me entirely. Under my direction, GOG couldn't even breathe. Their Nakaruru tried to cross the river to clear a wave, but I was already waiting in the brush. With a 3,000 gold lead, killing him was like stepping on an ant. Daxian was vibrating with excitement. Our macro play has leveled up. The rhythm is so fast now. How can they even hope to reach the late game? At 10 minutes, we took both dragons and sieged their high ground tower. Ling Ming made a highlight reel play on my, sniping their marksman with a fan and a flash ultimate combo. I dove the backline, skewering 3 people to secure a triple kill. I eventually went down after taking too much tower aggro, but the job was done. My teammates cleaned up the remaining stragglers. At 12 minutes, we wiped them 5-for-1 and shattered their crystal. The casters could only watch in awe as I finished the game with a bloodbath. The casters were losing their minds. Ping Zi, acting like a proud father, screamed into his mic as we secured a 19-2 victory. We had clawed back a win, and the energy in the arena was electric. My performance on Ma Chao had caught everyone off guard. I finished the game 14-3, boasting a 90% kill participation rate. I had dictated the tempo from the very first minute until the crystal shattered. It was a total slaughter. With me on Ma Chao, GOG never stood a chance to reach the late game. They had no room to breathe, let alone mount a comeback. I had become XYG's secret weapon. Back in his streaming room, Daxian was so hyped he was accidentally stuffing orange peels into his mouth. Good. So good, he shouted through a mouthful of fruit. Ye God is a monster. Bringing him into XYG was the best decision I ever made. On the stage, my teammates were all smiles. Suyi was beaming because this was his first professional win. The others, the younger brothers, were grinning because they had just enjoyed the easiest carry of their lives. On the other side of the stage, the GOG players looked like they had just swallowed flies. I had crushed them into the dirt, and it showed on their faces. As we headed back to the lounge to reset, the analysts on the big screen couldn't stop praising me. They called my Ma Chao a textbook performance. They replayed the moment I turned a 1v3 into a double kill, labeling it a career highlight. Then, the post-match stats flashed on the screen. The crowd gasped. My damage output was a staggering 56%. In a game where the marksman and mage are supposed to carry the load, I had dealt more than half of my team's total damage. I had outdamaged our 2 carries combined. In fact, I had dealt more damage than GOG's 2 carries and their top laner put together. The MVP announcement was a formality. My face appeared on the giant screen next to those 1413 stats. The fans went wild. "He's handsome and he's a god," someone yelled. "I want to have his babies." The atmosphere was shifting. While some fans were starting to believe in a reverse sweep, GOG supporters remained skeptical. Winning 1 game was easy. Winning 4 in a row was nearly impossible. In the XYG lounge, Coach Putao Tang looked like a massive weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He looked at me with pure admiration. "Excellent work, Xiaoyi. I knew your Ma Chao was fierce, but that was something else." I gave him a humble smile. It was all right. The guys coordinated well. I couldn't have done it without them. The others beamed. They knew I had done the heavy lifting, but the fact that I was willing to share the credit made them respect me even more. They realized I wasn't just a mechanical god, I was a teammate. "We can't get ahead of ourselves," the coach warned, his expression turning serious. "If we want to pull off the reverse sweep, we need 3 more wins. From now on, our entire draft revolves around Suyi. Any objections?" The 4 brothers shook their heads so hard they looked like bobbleheads. Why would they object to playing around the guy who was carrying them to glory? The plan was simple. Shihi would pick support heroes to buff me, and the team would draft around my lane. The coach was smart. He realized that if the standard meta wasn't working, he might as well put all his chips on his strongest player. Meanwhile, in the GOG lounge, Coach Shi Jian was staring at a data sheet with a deep frown. "You're telling me this kid has 30 heroes in his expert pool?" He barked at his analyst. "There aren't even that many top lane heroes in the game. Are these stats real?" The analyst shrugged helplessly. "That's his rank data. He doesn't repeat heroes. He just cycles through them like he's showing off." Ji Jian felt a headache coming on. "How do you ban out a player like that?" "Fine," he sighed. "Next game, we go with our signature picks. Pick a tanky top laner to survive the early game. If he gets a lead, we just stall and win through macro play." The news of my debut was already blowing up on social media. Genius Youth Dawn joins XYG, and Dawn's Ma Chao slaughter were trending in the top 10. Usually, people only care about the KPL, but the Daxian effect combined with my performance was drawing thousands of new viewers to the stream. The break ended, and it was time. We walked back out onto the stage for Game 5. The comeback was only just beginning. As I walked back onto the stage with my teammates, the camera director knew exactly who the crowd wanted to see. The giant screen filled with my face. I could hear the female fans screaming the moment my image appeared. I just gave them a casual wave and a smile before taking my seat. After a quick gear check, the pick and ban phase began. Since GOG had lost the last round, they chose the blue side. We were on red. Right away, GOG showed how much they feared me. They banned Meng Qi and Zhu Beiji, 2 of the strongest lane bullies, specifically to shut me down. Then, they locked in Luna, Yuji, and Xiahou Dun. My team, XYG, countered by banning Lan and Gongsun Li, picking up the Luban Master and Jiang Zia slingshot combo, along with the top-tier assassin Jing for Jiuyu. The commentators were buzzing. Pingzi laughed, noting that GOG was pulling out all their signature heroes. Lan Mao got his legendary Luna, and Ao Han got his Yuji. On paper, our lineup looked stronger with the slingshot combo, but everyone was staring at the screen, waiting to see what I would pick. Coach Ji Jian of GOG wasn't taking any chances. In the second round of bans, he targeted me again, banning Charlotte and Mulan. That was 4 bans directed entirely at me. The crowd gasped. Even Daxian, watching from his stream, wide-eyed, muttered, "For bans? That's a bit much, isn't it?" But then again, Yi Bao has a literal ocean of heroes. Can they even ban them all? I didn't blink. We rounded out our draft with Li Yuanfang and, finally, my pick, Meng Tian. The stadium erupted. Meng Tian is a beast, a walking fortress who can switch between a crushing offense and an unbreakable defense. In the right hands, he creates miracles. The lineups were set. For GOG, Xiahou Dun, Luna, Yuan Gu, Yuji, and Giguzi. For us at XYG, I had Meng Tian in the top lane, Zhou Yuan Jing, Ling Wu on Jiang Zia, Xiao Do on Li Yuan Fong, and Shi He on Luban Master. Because this was the K-Arena Finals, there was a destiny mechanic. Since GOG had won 2 games in a row, Jiuyu's Jing was designated as a destiny hero, meaning her usage count didn't reset. He was back on his best hero. Despite our momentum, the commentators were still skeptical. A reverse sweep from 0 to 3 to 4 to 3 was almost unheard of in a final. GOG is going for pure mechanical outplay with Luna and Yuan Gu, Ping Z analyzed. They want to crush XYG with raw skill. Daxian, however, was leaning into his chair with a grin. I have a feeling Yi Bao's Meng Tian is going to give us another surprise. As the game loaded, the fans in the stands were chanting for both teams. I ignored the noise. I stared at the map, my mind already 3 steps ahead. Jiuyu, I said into the mic, my voice calm but firm. Go straight for Luna's red buff. Xiao Do, take Li Yuan Fong to mid and clear the wave fast. If Luna starts at red, we can test it. Once I hit level 2 in the top lane, I'll rotate to their blue jungle. We're taking both buffs. Jiuyu hissed through his teeth. Both? That's aggressive. It was more than aggressive, it was greedy. But I knew Luna was weak early. If we starved her now, she'd be useless later. As the match started, I sprinted toward the top lane. My teammates followed my lead, swarming the mid lane, and then collapsing on GOG's red jungle. Lan Mao, playing Luna, saw 4 of us charging in and realized he couldn't fight. He cursed under his breath and abandoned his red buff, running toward his blue side. Jiuyu secured the red without even using his smite. Meanwhile, I was in the top lane facing Dai Ti's Xiahou Dun. He clearly hadn't learned his lesson from the last game. He tried to contest the wave, but I reached level 2 first. I lunged forward, my soldiers forming a wall, and hammered him into the dirt. By the time he retreated, he was at half health while I was still nearly full. Xiahou Dun is low. Daxian shouted to his viewers. The blue buff is ripe for the taking. He was right. Lan Mao was halfway through taking his blue buff when my team arrived. I abandoned my lane and closed in from the top, while Jiuyu, Xiao Do, and Shi He swarmed from the river. Lan Mao's face went pale. Again? Seriously? Help me out here. His teammates rushed to support him, but Jiuyu didn't hesitate. He used his first skill to dash through the wall, eyes locked on the blue buff. The real fight was about to begin. Xiao Do and Shi He followed my lead, charging forward on Li Yuan Fong and Luban Master. We swarmed the blue jungle like a pack of wolves. Daxian was already there, positioning his Su Lai in the river brush. He spotted Lan Mao's Luna standing alone, desperately trying to secure the buff. Luna's isolated. I shouted, don't let her start. Kill her now. She didn't hesitate. I'm on it. The blue buff's health dropped rapidly, hitting the threshold for smite. Just as GOG's teammates, when D and Minghua rushed into Peel, a golden flash cut through the air. Shi He used a flash ultimate combo on Luban Master, knocking Lan Mao into the air before he could react. A bolt of lightning struck from above. Jiuyu had timed his smite perfectly, snatching the blue buff right out of Lan Mao's hands. I got it, Jiuyu yelled. He immediately lunged at the level 1 Luna, sticking to her like glue. Daxian's voice erupted in the stream. He got it. Jiuyu stole it again. Can we get the kill? Look at Luna. Lan Mao was miserable. He was still level 1, trapped between Jiuyu, Xiao Do, and Shi He. He had nowhere to run. I saw my opening and cut in from the flank as Meng Tian. I slammed into him, pinning the helpless Luna against the wall. 4 of us unloaded everything we had. A massive first blood banner flashed across the screen. I took the kill with a final, heavy spear thrust. The crowd in the arena went wild. Daxian was practically jumping in his seat. Beautiful. First blood is ours. This is how you play with a lead. You have to be this aggressive. My stream chat was a blur of messages. This is what I'm talking about, one viewer wrote. If you don't play aggressive when you're ahead, you're just waiting to lose. Others were confused. Is this really XYG? They feel like a completely different team. They're so much meaner now. In the GOG team chat, Lan Mao looked like he wanted to cry. I'm done, man. I'm a Luna with 0 buffs. How am I supposed to play? Minghua, their captain, tried to steady them. It's fine. We're weak early. Just stabilize. We win the mid to late game. Go farm the small camps and head to the red side. Lan Mao sighed and started hitting the tiny jungle monsters, slowly working his way toward his red jungle. Mingwa thought the storm had passed, but then Dai Ti's voice crackled over the comms, trembling. Guys? I think this Ming Tian is trying to dive me. Mingwa panned his camera to the top lane. What? You're a full health Xiahou Dun under your own tower. He can't dive you. Don't be ridiculous. Dai Ti swallowed hard. He's clearing the waves so fast. Oh crap, he's actually doing it. The commentators were just as shocked. They were mid-sentence talking about Dai Ti's past stats when the camera suddenly snapped to the top lane. I had just hit level 4. Instead of rotating to help the team, I stood at the edge of the enemy tower and activated my ultimate. Form ranks. Meng Tian's voice boomed across the map. I summoned my soldiers and marched straight into the tower toward Dai Ti's full health Xiahou Dun. Wait, what is he doing? The commentator Pingzi shouted. Is he really trying to dive a Xiahou Dun solo? Dai Ti is at full health, Xiao Lu added, sounding baffled. He's probably just trying to zone him away from the gold, Yu Yu suggested, but her face changed as she watched the screen. Wait, he's actually attacking. Daxin's heart nearly stopped. Yi Bao, isn't this a bit reckless? Everyone watching thought I was about to throw my lead. Diving a tank like Xiahou Dun at level 4 usually meant certain death. But they didn't understand Meng Tian's mechanics like I did. I didn't lead with my skills. I just walked up and started basic attacking. Because my soldiers counted as minions, the tower didn't target me. It kept firing at the soldiers while I relentlessly poked Dai Ti. I walked and stabbed. What the hell? Dai Ti yelled. I'm the one being dived? Why is he winning? He tried to fight back, but it was 1 versus 5. He used every skill he had, but his health bar was melting. By the time he realized he was in real danger, he was already at a third of his health. Ping Zi's voice reached a fever pitch. He's doing it. Pashao is actually pulling off the dive. He's chipping him down. Dai Ti can't even touch the minions. He's trapped. He's half health. Daxian screamed. He's going to kill him. As Dai Ti tried to retreat deeper into his tower, I triggered my spear. Defeated generals have no place on the battlefield. The strike was true. Even under the tower, the battle god of the top lane wasn't showing any mercy.